The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are in Cardiff tonight. The beast from the east might not be showing on our map there, but we have just about defrosted here in South Wales. We're at the Canton Liberal Club for the fourth week of the IPA FreeSports Champions Cup of pool. Coming up this evening, we will see James Hannay taking on Christian Phillips and Nicky Griffiths versus Curtis Lee. The winners of both semi-finals will head into a final to play each other to determine who advances into the second round of the Champions Cup. We've already had 3 weeks of competition, 2 in Washington and 1 already in Cardiff. You can see there the full qualifiers to date. Mark Farnsworth, Rona McCarthy and Craig Marsh have all made their way through to the second stage. We still have plenty more to come though in this Champions Cup. Stephen Jameson joining you here alongside Simon Webb. And Simon, what can we look forward to from our first semi-final? Christian Phillips taking on someone who, if you've been listening to the pool on there on Free Sports quite a bit in the last few months, you'll recognise James Hannay.
Yeah, we get to see him play rather than listen to him tonight. Excited to see James play. But Christian is the seed in tonight's group, so he starts this match as a pretty nice favourite. But the difference between this week and I think previous weeks is it's probably a bit more of a competitive week all the way around in terms of the 4 players are probably a little bit more evenly matched. We don't, Christian's, I think, 16th seed, so we've had 3 of our stars in play so far. So it'll be interesting to see how this one pans out.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to this. We've seen some fantastic performances so far in the Champions Cup from Mark Farnsworth and Ronan McCarthy in particular, and also from Craig Marsh, who last week here in Cardiff really had to play well to beat Corey Rees. That was the closest week so far we've had on the Champions Cup circuit.
Yeah, it was really good to see Corey playing well and push Craig, but Craig responded and Craig played just fantastically. Best I've seen him play in a long time. So we've seen 3 of our star players and they played very, very well to start this event.
And it's Christian Phillips on the break. He won the lag, so he's first to break. And as you can see there, really got into it. Red down into the top pocket as we look.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a dead pack. A number of the balls didn't really move from the triangle area, so it didn't really split as well as he would have hoped. But there's no major problems. He's got options here. It looks like he wants to be red. So the problem with reds is he doesn't have an opening pot. So straight away we're into a very, very high tariff shot to start the match.
Absolutely. And didn't he play it well? Yeah. And he's played it so well, he's actually left the ball he originally played as well.
Yeah, that's a great shot. So the key now to this frame is going to be the red on the left-hand side rail. It's blocked by the yellow, so that's his biggest problem. The 2 by the black, if the bottom one of those two next to the black goes to the right centre, that will help his situation. I think he probably played on the double here, just the one just inside the black.
Well, he goes for the cut and gets it.
Went for a very, very thin cut. Didn't think he was on that, which is why I was thinking he was on the double.
Well, here's the replay again. You can see there, in it goes. I don't think he wanted to pop the second ball.
He'll be very disappointed that the second ball's gone down, but because he's moved all the reds away from his problem red is still the red on the left-hand side. Because he's moved all the other reds away, that's now a real problem. Doesn't probably want that to, yeah, he didn't really want that to go in. That's much better for him than going in.
Yeah, it's a lovely shot to pop the original ball he was trying to pot, but that second one going in actually really didn't help him at all.
Yeah, I think he was trying to make something happen. He didn't have that much control on it, but he was hoping that one of the balls would go and cannon the red on the left-hand side out, and he would be left with an opportunity to go for a finish. But all he could do was cover the black up and hand the table over to James.
And James Hannay then at the table, and you can see there the shot clock ticking down. 45 seconds on the watch for each of the players, one extension of 30 seconds permitted per frame, and I get the feeling James isn't too happy with himself with that shot.
Yeah, he had a chance to get the white right behind those yellows and leave Christian snooker, but he's left the double. The double is very makeable, but the problem is if he cannons the yellow just below it, he might not be on the next red. But he got the white out but missed the double.
Yeah, we were lucky enough to see these guys warming up on the table ahead of the broadcast, and Christian was knocking those doubles in for fun. Just shows it's an altogether slightly different beast once the action gets underway.
Yeah, it's a different game once it's a live match than just knocking it round. But James is in complete control of this frame now.
It is indeed a total snooker, as you've heard called from the referee. That means Christian here cannot see either of the reds, and it's a very, very tough snooker to get out of as well. You can see that absolutely barricaded from that one. Is there any route here he can take a look at, Simon?
Well, it looks like he's going to have to come off one cushion, but he's probably going to have to use an awful lot of side to get to the angle he needs. So he can only hit somewhere here. So the natural angle would be to come up there, but he needs to actually widen the angle, either quite a lot to hit this, somewhere there. It's going to be very difficult to get enough. You can see how much side he's having to get on this to widen the angle.
He hit the yellow first, that's definitely a foul. Now, for those of you not familiar with 8-ball rules of the IPA, it's not as you might get down the local. It's not 2 shots or anything like that. No 2 shots carry. It's a shot and a visit. Get 1 free ball, and then you're back at the table as a regular visit.
Yeah, it means James has got a free shot here to develop the balls as much as he wants to then give himself the opportunity to clear. So he's going to probably pop the red over the pocket, but after that he's still got a little bit of work left. But now there is clearance on for him.
Yeah, knocking the black out as well was quite a good tactical move. Again, might be a slightly different tactic than you might be used to seeing, especially if you are used to playing down your local club or in the local pub even. It's almost unthinkable to pot an opponent's ball, but these guys are very much familiar with the idea of they are not going to miss. So anything that makes it easier for them is a boon, and that's exactly what James Hannay has gone for. Clearance is now on, the black is out in the middle of the table, and that pocket is now free.
This is tough. Yeah, that was a tough shot. When he cannoned the black out, he just left himself off angle on the ball he was next to play, which meant he couldn't get close to his next ball. So it's just making it hard work for him. And unfortunately he missed the pot.
Yeah, Christian played that one nicely, and he's pretty much got almost a 1-2 back into the corner from where he just struck that shot.
Yeah, he's a bit in between here. Another roll down the table, he'd take it to centre. Another roll less, he'd take it to the corner.
Into the corner pocket it goes. It's 1-zip to Christian Phillips, who will be pleased to get that frame out of the way. Looked for a moment as if he was going to run into a little bit of trouble, but no such luck there. Here's his recent tournament history. What have you made of Christian's recent form?
Well, Christian showed a lot of form at the World Championships. I think almost a return to form, because he's probably had, since he bought a pool club about a year ago, and I think since he bought that, his sort of form dipped quite a bit. Maybe he wasn't playing as much, maybe working more than playing, not practicing as much as he used to. I don't know, but he certainly in the last tournament or 2 tournaments, World Championships, he certainly looked to be back to his best, making it all the way to the quarterfinals, and probably should have won the quarterfinals against Ben Davies.
Yeah, wasn't that an incredible game, wasn't it?
Unbelievable match, 2-0 up. He looked certain to clear up to win 3-0, but got a kick on his penultimate ball, I think, and Ben was able to counter clear and managed to turn the match around and win it. So he was a pot away from winning that match.
And changes the break, and he's going off. He can't believe it. Snarl at the table from James after an original wry smile. And he's a little bit unlucky there. He's come straight off the side cushion and gone straight on off the ricochet.
Yeah, he's gone for the cut break, and he's hit that cut break really, really well, but he's been unlucky for the break to go in off. Sometimes you can screw straight into the corner or straight into the side, but that time he's been kicked in off, and he can consider himself unlucky. And he knows at this level that he's fully expecting Christian to punish him now. Doesn't look like Christian's got too many problems here. He can go a couple of different ways. He's got his free shot where I think he's just going to develop. I think he's going to put the yellow safe and then go reds. That's exactly what he's done. So he's taken that yellow just to clear the red in the middle of the table and played on the one at the bottom left-hand side.
And here he comes down the side cushion.
I think he just wants to punch this out a few inches down from where it is now. There, so he's on the red into the centre.
It's a good job he left the pot easy, because the queuing there was absolutely horrible.
Yeah, it was a little bit more awkward than he probably wanted. He's now going to probably look to play on the red on the right-hand rail, and then he's from there. It shouldn't be too bad. He may play this red off the yellow just to open up the pocket for the black.
Yeah, good call. That's exactly what he's done. It's a nice shot from Christian Phillips. And you can see there, the red's pretty much painting my numbers after this one.
Yeah, there's just got a little bit careful, I think. He's either going to play on the gap or he could come back to play on the plant. Red onto red. It just depends on the angle whether he can get on the red, the bottom of the 3. He just needs to be careful with his shot. If he can see enough of that red, yeah, no, he's absolutely perfect now. So he can just drop this red in that's nearest the pocket and just come behind the other red, and it should just all unravel quite nicely from here. So a couple of really good shots to open this up, and should be plain sailing. He's okay there. He can just screw back off the side cushion. He's got plenty of margin to get onto the black.
Oh, it wiped its feet, didn't it? Nearly missed it, but actually in the end he's ended up pretty perfect. You can sometimes find that, especially when players focus so much on the white ball, because he had to focus on that because the position wasn't ideal. Focusing so much on the white ball, he almost took his eye off the pot.
Yeah, it's one of those that he wanted to pot it just slightly straighter than it was. It would have made, just makes the control of the shot a little bit easier. So yeah, nearly got away from him, but not too bad.
And this is the tournament history for Christian Phillips. You can see that loss to Ben Davies was oh so close in the World Championships, but he was a little maybe undercooked in the Welsh Open. I think it's fair to say he'd been looking to go further in that, particularly in his home competition, you feel, as well.
Yeah, I was expecting to see more from him in the Welsh Open, just because of the way he played in Bradford at the World Championships. I expected him to go maybe a little bit further, but he's lost to 2 fantastic players in Rabfi and Andy Lucas, and that's just the standard of the IPA Tour, that one week you can be making the quarterfinals of the World Championships, and the next week you're losing in the second round. That's the standard of the players. You may not have done too much wrong in those matches.
So Christian back at the table on the break. He's 2-0 up, in a good position to advance through in the early going here, although that looks like it's going to come out dry. Seems to get into it quite well, but you can see all the balls pretty much gathered on one side of the table. Tough lie here.
Yeah, I think it's important for James that he needs to get into this match, and he hasn't been presented with a particularly easy chance for a finish, but I think it's important he gets himself reds and then gets to work from there. That's not. I don't know if he can see enough of the red in the middle of the table to pot it, because if he can, he'll just brush into the other red, which would open that red up. If he can't, then he's not on a pot here. He does have safety options if he's not on the pot. He could just play quarter ball off the red and nudge the 2 reds open and leave the white in the bottom right-hand part of the table. Yeah, you can see he hasn't got enough to pot it. So just open up the 2 reds and try and get the white behind the other red. I don't think he's left a pot on, so he'll be relatively happy with that. Christian doesn't have an open pot to go on, and reds are in a very dominant position. That's why I said it was important for James to make sure he makes himself reds, and then not necessarily go for the finish, but he's got control in the frame. For Christian, it's difficult to find an area on the table where you're not leaving James a shot on, and it's difficult to see how he can find anything aggressive.
Extension gold.
Yeah, Christian just choosing to use his extension, which is a pretty wise decision, because this is a bit of a puzzle to figure out.
Yeah, normally 45 seconds wouldn't pose too much of a problem for Christian, but this is one of those situations where you wouldn't mind a few seconds longer. That's a brilliant shot. That really is. He's just matched the yellow up to cover the red to the centre. So what Christian's done there is he's blocked the natural pocket for the red nearest to the left centre. It still goes to the bottom left, but but he's making James work harder for the finish, and that's all he could really do in the situation he was in.
Yeah, it certainly isn't easy for James Hannay, but it is an opportunity nevertheless to get his first frame on the board in this Champions Cup.
Yeah. Oh, he looks like he can see enough of the... I didn't think he could see enough of the red he's going for. I was wondering if he had to play the other one to the bottom end of the table.
Oh, well, he could see too much of it.
Yeah, I think...
He missed it thin, which was the wrong way to miss it if he was struggling to see it. And actually, in the end, he's missed it by quite a way.
Yeah, I think it's not gone well from there. But he's still... because of the red at the top of the table where the blacks, you know, he's got the black and yellow are covered. The reds are still in front in this frame, if you like. He still hasn't left Christian an easy pot to go at. You know, he needs to stay positive. Well, it looks like what's Christian looking at here? Yeah, that's another good shot from Christian. He's opened up the pocket a little bit for his yellow. We'll see with this overhead now. If this yellow slides past the red after this visit, and it does, then Christian has more opportunity. You know, there's a bit more pressure on James now, because if James doesn't get the finish now, then Christian will have an opportunity to go for a finish himself.
Position hasn't been kind to James there.
Yeah,
wanted to cannon the yellow much fuller than that.
Yeah, if he gets the cannon full ball, then it's okay, but it's from where he is now. He may look to play the long plant.
Or has he just crept in behind the middle?
That's a very, very good shot.
Wow, what a good shot that is.
Yeah.
We've seen, actually, it's been quite interesting. We've seen two frames of relatively free-flowing pool, and then in this one we've seen some fantastic safety play.
Yeah, that's a great shot from James. He was just trying to get that red in amongst those yellows to make Christian's chance for clearing up difficult. Oh, he's going to foul here.
Foul.
He hasn't reached the cushion.
Free table.
Now, is he trying to drop that in dead weight, or is he trying to just glance the jaw on the way through?
He just wants to. He wants to take the pocket, so he's looking just to hit the jaw first, dead weight onto the jaw, and just take the pocket and just sort of say over to you, James, because he's not. There was no finish on for Christian. He just hasn't hit it quite hard enough.
Now, is there a finish on here for James? He's got one completely free shot to develop the balls, and they do require some developing.
He needs to develop a lot in the first shot.
Free whistle over.
And I don't know. I think he can pot. I don't think it would have. I think it would have been better for him not to pot the red. He's made the yellow onto red to plant it in, but I think it's better keeping it on the table. Oh, he's hit the gap nicely. He needs to be straight enough on this that he can screw straight back. He almost needs the white to be where it is now off the next shot. You can just see where he's looking at now. I think he's looking at that for his last shot. So he's looking at taking the red over the pocket and then cannoning into the black. He has got a nice angle. He's overscrewed it.
I'm not even sure if he can cut that. One thing that might help him is the yellow being where it is. It might be that he can jam this in.
He can.
Oh, he can just cut it.
I don't think he can cut the black though. Well, he could be on for a cocked hat double here. He could be looking at the left centre. Oh, I was about to draw it for you, but he's going to play it quicker than I can get to the pen. Centre pocket, off the yellow. Great shot.
What a lovely shot from James Hannay. That's how you want to get your first frame of the Champions Cup. It's a champagne shot. He'll be annoyed that he had to play it, but my goodness me, didn't he play it well?
Yeah, that's a fantastic shot. The yellow being there has helped him, and he knew that was a big pocket. It's a strange one, actually. He probably expected to make that. It looks a bit of hit and hope, but he played that really, really well.
And here's James's recent tournament history.
Yeah, James is last year was his first season as a professional, and didn't have the best of years. I can vouch for the fact that when you're a first-year professional, it is very, very difficult to adjust. There are obviously some players, take to it like a duck to water. They're straight in and do well, but it's not that easy. And he found it as tough as I did. He's had a few good wins along the way. Slightly earlier in the year than we're showing there, but he'll be disappointed with the way his first year went, but looking to bounce back in year 2.
Would be an upset for James to knock out Christian here, although it certainly wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility. We were discussing off air before the match that this is probably the most competitive of all the Champions Cup groups, as James gets a pretty good breakaway there. Yeah, and
I say that, and I mean that in no way disrespectfully to anybody else that's played so far in the tournament, but the first 2 weeks we had 3 of our star players playing, and they were very strong favourites to win their groups, as much as the other players in the groups were fantastic players as well. But I just think this group is, especially in the second match, as even as we've seen so far. And I think Christian is the seed and favourite for the group, and quite rightly so. But I definitely think it's the most competitive week so far.
Well, let's hopefully see it on the table. Certainly what we all thought when we saw it on paper.
Yeah, James looks a little bit awkward here. He looks to be straight. It looks like he can. So he's got the yellow to the corner. He just needs to come back a couple of 3 inches, and then he's got another yellow to the top right as we look. You can see he's having to jack up to make this.
Here's a reverse angle of that winning black. Now, he had a bigger pocket because he knew the yellow was there, but how difficult is that shot to play to work out the angle of it?
Yeah, it is, but it's one of those shots that James would have felt pretty confident on, actually. It is an amazing shot. I expected him to make it. It was just that sometimes the way they set themselves up, it was brilliant, but it was one that I fully expected him to get.
It does show the confidence of James, though, that he's prepared to take that shot on. We've seen in the first few weeks of the Champions Cup with the new table. The cushions are very slidey. Yeah. Plenty of options there for it to slide around many a cushion.
Yeah, I think the table's now playing beautifully. I think it just takes a few matches just to bed itself in, and I think it's now playing, just watching the players practice earlier and watching last week, I think the table's playing absolutely beautifully. And yeah, I don't think James had too many other options but to take that on, and he executed it brilliantly. But we've seen in this visit so far, he's just struggling to control the white. He's pulling out a couple of good pots to keep the visit going, but he can't quite get the white where he needs to for the next shot.
Well, as we've said plenty of times on our coverage of the Champions Cup here on Free Sports, quite often the way to spot a good player is they never have to play a particularly difficult shot.
Absolutely, I've said it so many times. Watching someone like Mark Farnsworth, for example, playing, you could watch him make 10 finishes on the trot and go, well, he hasn't done anything difficult yet, and that's the skill, and that's what's so amazing. And you could see there with James, he was just each shot was getting just further and further out of position to the point where he was left with no finish on.
Christian Phillips just with a little shake of the head. I think he wanted that red a little bit more over the corner pocket, and I don't think he really wanted the white poking out from behind these reds.
It's just the fact the white's gone that extra couple of inches to stop, not to leave James in a snooker. It wasn't really a finish on for James. He could have potted that, of course, but he wouldn't have had a shot on the next yellow. Christian's still in control of this frame. As always, if you go for a finish like James did and get 1 or 2 balls away and then miss, your opponent then becomes a good favourite to win the frame.
And again, we're engaged in a little safety battle here. We've seen some good ones so far in this match.
Yeah, I don't think Christian's got the total snooker. I think he can just see the edge of this yellow, but he can't do much with it. Yeah, no choice there but just to try and tie up the black and make Christian's finish as difficult as possible if he wants to go for a finish.
Here's the option, particularly even there for, I suppose, the red just above the white is pretty potable, but in terms of in terms of freeing up that black, is there an angle he can create in the next couple of shots?
I don't think he needs to, because he is in control. So I think he needs to just keep doing what he's doing, waiting for a better opportunity. He could push the boat out, of course. He could have gone for that and tried to create an angle to make it happen. And if he was in the club, he probably would have done. But he's got James in all sorts of trouble. James at the moment is just trying to stop Christian winning the frame, and he doesn't have too many chances to do anything else but that. Whereas if this frame plays out the way it's playing out, then eventually Christian's going to get an opportunity better than he's just had.
James Halley there did hit that ball, just in case you're wondering. It's not a foul.
Yeah,
just glanced off it.
I was thinking if Christian can see one of the reds to the top and pot them, he may have decided to pot one of those two. I was thinking he would leave the one he's just potted as a really nice ball to go into the black, but he's probably thinking the other way around. He's thinking the red to the left centre, pot that in, and then cannon into the black from there. But if he's going to do that, he wants to do it sooner rather than later. Yeah, I'm wondering if he pots that red in there, if he's got the right angle, he can either come off the top cushion and into it, or directly into it.
That was what he was looking at just before he played this shot. Needs a good white. Needs this white to be exactly where he wants it. He's a little bit short. Might be able to force it there.
Yeah, he certainly can't do it off this one. I think it's probably better for him to leave that red there, take one of the ones at the top of the table, and then go back to try and get another angle for it. But the more balls you go into this visit without getting that black out, the more hope James will have. Because if he goes into this black now, it looks like he has the angle. So on and off the top cushion and into the black, there's every chance that he's not going to be on the next red.
Big shot. This could be the key to the frame for Christian Phillips.
It's come out nicely. It's come out really, really well for him.
And I think it's pretty much going to be clear as well. It is. What would have been the nightmare scenario there for Christians if that black ended up wedged behind the reds and blocking the pocket, but that's actually turned out just about perfectly for him, and he is a couple of shots away from racing into a 3-1 lead here.
Yeah, he's worked that out nicely, but the more chance you have, you know, if you have to wait 2 or 3 shots before you go into it, there's more chance of not being on the next ball. You want as many balls on the table as possible when you go into bad balls.
Yeah, really nicely done by Christian Phillips there. That shot on the black was beautifully played, and these are the stats so far. And what they show us, Simon, the total balls potted in particular, is there's pretty much been chances for both players in pretty much every frame.
Yeah, I think James is going to be disappointed he's not at least 2-2. He probably feel like he should have won the first frame once Christian didn't win it from his initial chance. Wasn't able to come up with a good snooker and win that frame. So Christian's going to be pretty happy. You know, James has come up with a very good black to win the frame he's won. So he'll be happy to be 3-1, and James is probably slightly more annoyed with the way it's gone so far.
Yeah, not a single breaking dish or even a reverse dish yet so far. I almost said scrappy there, and that's not the word I was looking for. It's been very open each frame.
Yeah, I think sometimes the balls just lead themselves. You know, sometimes the balls come out and you go, yeah, he'll get these. You know, they're there. I expect him to work his way through. But there's been problems in every frame, and it hasn't been a clear run to the line in every frame, and that's probably why there hasn't been a dish from the dog so far. This looks a better split. This looks more
I was just about to say, I think we've almost done the opposite of a commentator's curse from there. Yeah, these balls are pretty much split directly in two.
All right, if he can pot, if he's got an opening yellow on, then these yellows look rather nice. Oh, he's got choices. Yeah, I think there's every chance we're going to break the duck of break dishes or reverse dishes that we were talking about with this split.
Yeah, absolutely. You're welcome, Christian.
Yeah.
Really good opportunity for him here. He doesn't have to worry necessarily about any of the balls, really. It's just all about his cue ball control, and player of his quality should be absolutely fine. As mentioned a little bit earlier, we were watching these guys practice on the table earlier on, and Christian was almost on skates, racing around the table, slamming balls into pockets left, right and centre. And we had a bit of a chat, like, why don't players play like this all the time? Because they've got the ability to do so. And you mentioned something which I thought was quite interesting, that sometimes as a player you're in danger of slowing yourself down too much and overthinking it.
Yeah, it's definitely something I'm conscious of. I think I overthink the game a little bit too much. I think it's important for every player to find their pace and their rhythm. You know, whether it's some players like to double check and work out their margin of errors and all that sort of stuff on every shot, and some players just like to see it and hit it and go for it. So, but it's important that you find your rhythm and you stay within your rhythm.
Well, as you can see, Christian hasn't had too many problems with those yellows. Fairly straightforward. He's even got a big pocket if he needs it. He doesn't. Black is very simple for a man of his prodigious talents. It's 4-1 to Christian Phillips. Beautifully done from the Welshman, and he is on his way potentially through to round 2 of this Champions Cup. James Hannay did not get a look in that frame. He's had plenty of opportunities so far though in this match. Our first break and dish from Christian Phillips has given him a 3-frame advantage. We'll see if he can make his way through to the second round after the break.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Welcome back to Cardiff, IPA FreeSports Champions Cup. The pool, James Hanning up against it, against Christian Phillips, 4-1 down, and that is not what he was after. He's come up dry in that break, and I think he's wondering how on earth that red has not gone in over that corner pocket.
Yeah, that's he would have really wanted that to drop.
Couple of near misses. That's quite often how it tends to be in pool, when it's just not quite going your way.
Yeah, when you've made a couple of mistakes, it's not quite going your way, you tend to get these dry breaks. Now, what Christian probably wants to do is if he could see that yellow and red, or he may have to play the other yellow and up the table onto it, then he can play that plant and then go reds.
And that looks like exactly what he's done.
Red and yellow potted up again.
The yellow's gone in as well, which means it's still a free table. I need to see the table again to know whether that's a bit of a lucky break for him or not. Because if he may still want to go yellows here, although I don't think he's got a yellow on. Because I was about to say that now he is reds. The reds at the bottom of the table are a problem because they're all surrounded by yellows. So he could go yellows if he can see one.
The thing is with that as well, is James will be looking at that table thinking, how did that yellow go in and the red didn't for me?
Yeah, exactly. But he knows as well that I mean, he'll be able to see from where he is now whether Christian can see the gap through to the yellow, and I'm guessing he can't because I think he would definitely want to go yellows if he could see a yellow.
Looks like it's going to be red then for Christian Phillips. Yeah, you can see there, he definitely wanted the yellow in.
Yeah, even if his plan was always to stay reds, he doesn't want the yellow to stay over the pocket because it's another pocket that's blocked for his reds. So it dropping in was sort of a double bonus for him. He could then go yellows, although he couldn't see a yellow to pot one, or it doesn't cover the pocket. So he definitely wanted it to go in. I think these reds at the bottom look awkward, but they may not be. Although I think he's over-screwed that. I think the middle one of the three, I think, might go to the corner. Just slide past those two yellows. But if he's straight on it, then the other two go as well. But he's just got too much angle because this looks quite tight. I was wondering if that red goes there, you could just see if he's straight on this. If he was straight on this red, he wouldn't miss it because he's got about half a pocket. But the fact he's got angle on this, it just makes it missable.
He's got to really slow the cue ball down as much as he can as well.
It's a great shot. It's a much better shot than it looks. Very, very well played, and now it's a pretty simple finish from here.
Yeah, that was the key shot to the frame. These next two are pretty straightforward. He's going to be one away. Here we go, Christian Phillips goes to one from home in this first semi-final in week number 4 of this IPA FreeSports Champions Cup. We're in Cardiff tonight, and we will also be here, there and everywhere over the next weeks on Free Sports. We're next up in Sheffield next week. We'll then visit Chester, Solihull, down to Twickenham in London, and all the way up to Bonnie, Scotland as well towards the summer. And we should probably mention at some point, Simon, that you'll be playing when we come back here in Cardiff in April. How much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Really, I can't wait, to be honest.
7-3.
I start to get a little bit nervous already, actually. But yeah, I'm really looking forward.
It's a long way away. You're not going to have any fingernails left by the time that comes around.
I think it's just the fact that I've been coming to so many of these weeks that I've actually, get to see it, and it really started to build the nerves up for it. Can't wait to get out on the table myself and get going. It's a good break from Christian.
Yeah, it is indeed. Ball was down. So he's got a yellow down. And the balls here are very well spread. Black is pretty tied up, that's one thing to mention.
Yeah, he's got some problems. It's not as open table as he's had on his last break, where he was able to make a break and dish. He's got a few more issues. Yeah, he's got a little cluster around the black, the red and yellow on the left-hand side. I think reds, if this red goes, then he'd like reds. He really wanted to catch that yellow fuller to stay on the red at the top of the table, because that red on the top of the table is now difficult to get onto. Obviously the red and yellow on the left hand side are still his problem.
Yeah, you can see that shake of the head from Christian.
He does have potting options from here, but they're all really tough. There's 3 in a line there that he can take all 3 of them to the left hand corner pocket, but they're all tough. He does have an option if he wants to pop the outside one of those 3 into the bottom left and then top through to cannon the red and yellow on the left hand side, but that would be very aggressive, because if you miss, you're leaving the table wide open for James.
Just plays that dead weight into the corner. He's an adventurous player, Christian Phillips, but I guess we're at this stage in the game, no need really to take that risk.
Yeah, I thought Christian might. He's the sort of player that would take that sort of shot on. He's done it off this one, and that's very, very good.
That's a heck of a shot, isn't it? Cued that beautifully.
Yeah, he's left himself on the red to the left centre, right centre, sorry. But it is slightly awkward angle. He's going to have to hit this next shot very, very well to come on and off the cushion to get back onto the red he's next to. This needs to be cued very well. You see, that's why he's just taking his time on it. If it was just off the other way, he'd be very happy, but he needs to cue this well.
Oh, cueing well has been something of his forte so far, and take a look at the pace in which he zipped that into the middle pocket. That's a sign of real confidence.
Yeah, he had even more angle on it than I first thought from the main screen, and he had to screw it on and off the bottom cushion, and he had to really hit that hard, and he's come up probably at least a foot short, maybe a little bit more. He hasn't really got... He could cut this red in still, but he's going to cannon into the yellow, and he's going to have no potting option after that. He's potentially got the double, or he's going to have to take the red up the table. Another brilliant shot.
Yeah, you saw there the right hand of James Hanley flicker at the top of your picture, just to reference the quality of that shot from Christian. He's playing really well. Seen this a couple of times so far on the Champions Cup tour so far, particularly on the seeded players. Quite often they haven't necessarily come out flying, or one of their opponents has given them a tricky start, but if they can overcome that sticky period, as Christian's done here, then quite often the last few frames all of a sudden just open up for them.
Yeah, that extra quality has shone through. We've seen that in the first 3 weeks, that the seeded players seem to, they've taken a couple of frames to adjust, but once they've got into the match, they've just shown their class. And Christian has as well.
Beautifully played from Christian Phillips. He takes the win over James Hanley. 6 frames to 1 in the end for the Welshman, and he will play the victor of Nicky Griffiths and Curtis Lee. These are the final match stats, and James Hanley there has been stuck on 15 since about frame number 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah, you said to me 3 frames ago, you said we haven't had any break dishes or reverse dishes, and Christian's put that right with 2 break dishes and a reverse dish to win the match the last 3 frames off the break. So yeah, James will be annoyed with the mistakes he made early on, but Christian's punished him and finished the match off flying.
He certainly did, and we'll hear from the victor after the break.
Yeah.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Oh, just to me, mate.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Welcome back to Cardiff. We're joined now by the winner, Christian Phillips, of our first semi-final. How was that for you? How did you feel like they seemed to be queuing very well, particularly towards the end of that game?
Yeah, a bit of a cagey start, but I came into the match pretty well towards the middle part. James had a few dry breaks, which didn't really help. My break was pretty good, so yeah, pleased.
And we noticed in the World Championships in Bradford, you seem to be playing particularly well there. Did you feel that could set a tone for the rest of your season?
Yeah, I do, but it doesn't always seem to work like that for some reason. Hopefully I can take my form from the World Championships into the rest of the season, but you never know, it's pool at the end of the day.
It absolutely is, and I know your phone's been going crazy while I've been waiting for the interview. You had a lot of people watching at home?
Yeah, that's why there isn't so many here, unfortunately, because it's on TV. But yeah, loads watching back home, so really good.
And have you got a message for your supporters?
One more to qualify, so fingers crossed.
We wish you all the very best. We've got the next semi-final coming up.
Lovely, thank you.
And let's take a look at how he got there. Yeah, lovely stuff from Christian Phillips, who advances through to our final here tonight in Group 4 of the FreeSports Champions Cup. He will play the winner of this one. It's Curtis Lee versus Nicky Griffiths in our second semi-final.
Group 4, semi-final number 2, Curtis Lee versus Nicky Griffiths.
There's the two players ready for this one, shaking hands with the referee and then with each other. So, Curtis on the left, in the white, Nicky in the blue on the right hand side. And we were chatting a little bit to Nicky in the run up to this one. He's just had absolutely a heck of a lag, by the way. We were chatting to him in the run up to this one. He seems very, very confident heading into this one. He's been a really good Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. He's absolutely flying, really. Just won the Welsh Tour event, and I think he's topped the rankings as well in the Welsh Tour rankings, so he's absolutely flying at the moment, probably in as good a form as he's been in his career so far. This is a match that on paper I wouldn't want to call. I'd probably give Nicky the edge just simply because he's the man in form out of the two of them at the moment. But 6 months ago I might have said the same thing about Curtis, so it's amazing how this could pan out.
And it was interesting there, Christian even said it in his interview, that it's really difficult sometimes to transfer form over events. He had a wonderful World Championships, very unlucky to be eliminated in the quarter-final to the eventual winner Ben Davies, but it's not. He was saying it's not always the way. Like, you take your form over. He'd love to, but he has no control over it in a sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this game it's got to have it that you could be absolutely flying 1 minute and then not getting the chances the next. Your opponent plays well and you don't get much of a go. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to be so consistent. Tournament after tournament. I think that's one of the things that impresses me about the top stars so much.
Nicky Griffiths coming up dry off his first break, which will be a big disappointment for him, and Curtis Lee here with the chance here to get first down to the table, gets his first pot away. Yeah,
he'll be disappointed, Nicky, because he hit that break absolutely brilliantly. It's probably the best hit break so far, but it's come up dry. It's just amazing how it goes sometimes. He's left Curtis a chance on the yellows here, but the 2 yellows in the top right hand part of the table look tricky. I don't know. It's difficult to tell from his camera angle whether he can play 1 yellow onto the other yellow and plant it in. If that's an option, then they're not too bad. You can just see, is that red in the way? If not, he can go into them now. He's going to go into this little cluster off this yellow to the top left. Okay, that's not come out ideally for him. If he's still on this yellow, but it's thin.
Yeah, it's very thin, isn't it?
It is very thin. He's almost going to have to come twice across the table as well. It's difficult to tell. He wanted to avoid that yellow. He wanted to slide past it and be on the yellow to the right-hand rail. I don't know whether that yellow now goes to the centre. I don't think it does. So he may be left with his only options to take the yellow to the left centre, which this means there's a lot of travelling with this white to get good position on the next ball. As I say that, he just drops it in, and he has got the yellow to the corner. So I thought he was going to have to come on and off the bottom cushion then, but he was straight enough to hold.
He should just about have the angle here to leave himself close enough to the yellow on the cushion. Still not an easy finish from here for Curtis.
He wants to be as straight as possible on this next yellow.
Oh, and he's missed it. And you can just see that. That's how he wanted to play it. It's a shame for Curtis that he's just tried to play that with a bit of drag, just to slow the ball down and just make sure he's as straight as possible. It doesn't bounce off the cushion, but got it all wrong. Yeah,
just the way he played that, I wonder whether he was trying to leave. I was worried that he was going to be, have 2 or 3, maybe 2 inches of angle, and those 2 reds become a problem, which is why I was thinking straight, so that you could just pot it in, screw back a couple of inches and be straight on the black to the left corner. But he may have been thinking the other way. If I could die it in and leave more angle, I can get the white back out to the centre of the table, take the black to the other corner pocket. But either way, he hasn't hit the shot very well, and be disappointed to miss that ball. I was just thinking how good Curtis was looking to start this match as he missed that ball, and a bit of a surprise the way he started with the first 5 shots, because he worked them out nicely.
Yeah, straight into his rhythm almost, wasn't he? Although Nicky might have just run into a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, that cannon's not gone well. He needed a slight. He didn't want to catch the 2. He didn't want to catch the gap the way he did. He either wants to catch the one by its, the one in the inside full ball, or catch the other one. So it's not gone overly well. But it's a bit of a free shot, this. He just underhit the white. I think he's okay. The reason I say it was a free shot is that he's not going to be leaving a yellow on if he'd missed that.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit fortunate in the sense that he knows that the cue ball's going to go on the move here naturally with the angle, and he can sort of allow it to, just to gradually make its way up the table.
Yeah, he controlled that. I thought, like you, I thought the white was going to be travelling a little bit more pace on. I thought that was thinner than it was. He was able to pot it off the thickest part of the pocket and control the white nicely. He's controlled it probably more than he thought. He wanted to be straight on this red to the corner, and he's probably come up a foot shorter than he thought he would have done.
Play that nicely to allow the red into the middle. Just having a think about where he wants to leave the white for the black.
Well, he's a bit between, but he's okay. Again, it's a he should. It's one of those nice, comfortable shots that he'll be punching this in with stunt shot off the side rail. So it's one of those. You'd be very surprised if you missed this.
Just trickles in. Nicely played from Nicky Griffiths, who capitalises on an error from Curtis Lee. And here is Curtis's recent record out in both rounds ones of the recent Welsh Tour events, the professional and the Open. But as you say, he's a player who's certainly got ability, and particularly towards last year was playing very well.
Yeah, I think when he first, last year was his second year as a professional, and I think he started in his first year. I think he had some nice runs and a couple of really nice victories over some of the top players, and I think he probably just took a step backwards in terms of performances and certainly results last year. Not too many major highlights to sort of shout about throughout the whole of 2017, but I know he's a good player and looking to get back on the winning side of things. Looking for a bit of a bounce back in 2018. I think it's why I said at the beginning of the match that I probably give Nicky the nod in this match. I think it's a very, very even match, but just simply on recent form, I just would go with Nicky. But Curtis can really play. We saw that at the beginning of that frame. He's pulled out 2 or 3 really good shots to give himself that opportunity. But maybe just because the form's not there, maybe he missed a shot that normally he wouldn't.
We really cracked into that break. Didn't really get the split that he would have been looking for, and wow, this one is looking pretty interesting. Yellow is down, so he's at the table.
Yeah, it's not a very nice split though. It's really, yeah, you can see he's got, that's a problem, and that's a problem. It really isn't very inviting at all. In an ideal world, he'd probably prefer to go yellows. There's less to work out with yellows, but he can't see yellow to pot it.
Was he playing to miss that?
No, he was trying to get reds and get himself into the frame. I don't think he was going to make a finish from there, but at least he was going to get himself into the frame.
Just wonder, with the way the white stuck itself to the cushion, as to whether it was potential attempted safety shot, but
yeah,
either way, it's not easy for Nicky what he's been left with here.
Yeah, I think he was trying to pot that. Maybe, I don't know just trying to think what he could have done with his next shot. Potentially looking at a safety shot from there, get yourself a colour and work from there. If he's left Nicky the yellow, he'll be disappointed.
Yellow to play.
Well, he has.
Yeah, it's still not a great chance for Nicky, but it's a better chance than Curtis would have had. Like I said, I think Curtis would have rather potted the yellow, but he couldn't see one. You can just see where he's pointing his cue there. He wants to catch that red thin enough to nudge into the red and yellow together to try and develop that ball. But it doesn't look natural. It looks like he's going to catch it too full. He did catch it, but I don't think it goes. That was nearly brilliant. In fact, yellow stops half an inch short of where it is. It's in the gap. It's just gone too far. So it's probably going to be a safety shot from Nicky.
Yeah, you can see there he's close to playing a blinder, and just get a sense that he'll be a little bit disappointed with how that one's turned out as well. Yellow, a little bit of a nothing ball now onto the cushion.
Yeah, he wanted to catch that red a fraction thicker and just get that yellow going a little bit more towards the pocket than where it's finished now. You'd still give yellows, even though in normal situation you'd rather have more balls on the table, but just because of the way the reds and yellows are, I would just marginally rather be yellows at this stage, but I think that could turn around quite quickly.
Yeah, Curtis was pretty safe in playing that shot, as there's not really anything on here for Nicky in a potting sense, at least, unless he fancies getting a bit creative.
There was a sort of risky shot from Nicky. He's just trying to play the yellow onto the black onto the yellow to get that yellow over the pocket, but it could have gone wrong. And it's sort of given Curtis an opportunity to be aggressive. He can pot a red to the bottom right here and go across, use the top cushion and come into the red and the cluster with the black and red and yellows. I would say if this turns out to be quite an open game, I would favour Nicky. If all the frames turn out like this, then I'd favour Curtis. I think this is a style of frame I think Curtis would rather play than Nicky. I think Nicky would much rather just get them open and clear up.
Well, Curtis having a good look at how this is laid for him, and if that red that he's nearest to, if you can engineer that into a pot, well, no, it's going to be next to impossible without playing something very risky. He's a little unlucky that it's come out like that.
Yeah, he just flicked the ball going through to it and didn't get enough pace into the area to open it up, so it's sort of semi-opened it up. And actually, if he was on a red, all the reds do go now, but he's not. He needs to come up with a very good safety shot, I think. I don't think there's anything aggressive here. Just wonder whether he can feather off the red and leave the white almost touching the yellow on just the, very, very close to where he is now, and not leave the yellow to the bottom right. That shot may not be on.
Real tough decision for Curtis Lee to make here. He's played his extension.
Oh, is the white in? Oh, it's all gone wrong.
The white's in. Double kiss on the red there. Nearly took it into the pocket, but it did take the white into the right middle.
I need to see that one. Did he try and cut that to the corner, or did he just... he sort of played it quite quickly in the end. He took a long time thinking about it and then almost played it very, very quickly.
Yeah, Nicky with a simple shot there into the corner. Let's have another look. It was definitely a double kiss. And you just see there the white just creeping into the pocket out of shot.
Yeah, a bit of a disaster as well, because it really just opens the frame up for Nicky, and Curtis knows as soon as that white fell in that he's going to lose the frame. And tried to make something happen and it didn't. I was a little bit surprised. We haven't talked too much about the shot clock yet tonight, but I definitely think Curtis is one of the players that would like to take slightly longer on. 45 seconds is... he's one of the slower players on the tour, and I wonder how the shot clock's going to affect him. I think if it's going to affect players, it's probably more likely to affect Curtis than some of the other players. Nicky, I don't think will have an issue with it. I think it's just a comfortable pace for Nicky. And I wonder on that shot there, I wonder if he hadn't fully made up his mind. And I said that it looked like he took a long time and then rushed the shot, and that's possibly down to the shot clock.
But this now looks fairly straightforward. For Nicky Griffiths for 2-zip. Our second semi-final. And this is what he's been up to recently. Nicky Griffiths had a very close game in the first round of the World Championships against Jake Dillon-Newlove, and a tough loss to Brian Hullcrow in the Welsh Professional recently as well. Did get to round 3 of the Welsh Open before being beaten by eventual finalist John McAllister.
Yeah, and in that Welsh Open he beat Mark Boyle, I believe, in I think probably round 2. And Mark is he's a new professional this year, but he's very well renowned in the pool world. We saw him at the World Championships, one of the star players, and that fantastic victory for Nicky, and that sort of highlighted the form he's in. And I know that match against John, he just said that John played great and got more chances than he did, and that's the way it panned out for him. It's been more the sort of Welsh events that I know he's been playing brilliantly, and the Welsh have their own tour as well for international qualifications, and I know that he's been going very, very well in that.
Well, he's not happy with his break once again. I think similar to what you said in the first frame this time, I'm not sure he could have spread the balls any better, and somehow one of them has not ended up in any of those bags.
Yeah, he's hit that break brilliantly but come up dry, which he'll be annoyed about. You can see there that Curtis has got great options on both colour sets, but the black is going to be his biggest problem. And he's gone straight after the black and just missed it. He just wanted to catch that black, probably well, any feather on that black and it would have opened it up, but probably half ball would have been perfect.
And he's a little lucky in the end that he's ended up on the yellow to the right centre, because he very nearly wasn't on anything.
Yeah, and the problem he's going to have now, I mean, he is on the yellow to the centre, and he may be able to leave an angle on the next yellow to go into the black again, but it'll be very difficult to go into that and leave himself on the next yellow. So he's got some problems here.
Extension called.
Yeah, just called it extension, just to have a good look at it. Didn't even let the beeps come in. He knew he wanted to use his extension.
Yeah, that black, it is very tricky. I'm just trying to work my way through the finish and see which way he could go about developing that red and black. And obviously you've got the yellow nearest the black is going to be the most ideal ball to do it with. But you're going to have to be quite precise when you do it, because you're either going to be playing on the black, or if you go into it before you're getting onto the black, then leaving the next ball on is going to be very difficult.
Yeah, that's why he's left that yellow alone, and he's had to really force a couple of these pots, but now this could be the angle.
Yeah, he has got the angle now. I was wondering whether he'd look to leave the white where it is now as his last ball. That's what I was thinking, because if he plays the yellow to the bottom right now, cannons into the red next to the black, he would leave himself on the black rather than the next red. So I wondered whether it was worth the risk of trying to get the white to where it is now after potting the other three yellows.
Yeah, which is exactly why he's reversed his decision, one suspects, and headed back up to the top of the table. Because I think likewise as well, he was very much in danger of leaving himself nothing to play in case that cannon went ever so slightly awry.
Yeah, even if he got that cannon perfectly, he was going to be left with a very difficult pot on the yellow. He wasn't going to get good position. So I think in that situation it's worth, normal circumstances, you want to get your hardest ball out first. You want to go straight after your bad balls. But
oh wow,
in that situation it was probably worth leaving it till last. But I didn't expect him to miss that. The problem he had with that yellow is he was just too thin on it. He wanted to drop this in as dead weight as possible.
Well, he's just missed it thick. Oh, it's a quite incredible miss. We've seen a couple of these now from Curtis Lee, where he looks like he's playing tremendously well, and out of nowhere almost comes a quite surprising miss.
Yeah, and the miss, it looks a worse miss than it was. The reason he's missed it is because he's trying to drop it in dead weight off the thick part of the pocket, because he had a bad angle on that yellow. If he makes that centre pocket at a nice comfortable pace, the white is nowhere. So it was actually the shot before where he hasn't finished in a particularly good positional shot on the shot before that's cost the miss. So sometimes it's not always just the ball he's missed, it's what he's trying to do with it.
He looked for the double there, Curtis Lee, and it's not come off for him, and he could be in a little bit of trouble here.
Yeah, well, I think Nicky's probably going to look to go for a finish. He's going to have the same problem that Curtis has. He needs to figure out how he develops the red and black, but he's got more reds around it, so it's a bit easier than it was for Curtis.
Yeah, you always got the sense with Curtis it was almost that yellow or bust really for him, with the black being where it is, but Nicky certainly does have a few more options. I wonder if he's not quite taken this on yet. Nope. Just going to engage in a bit of a safety to and fro here.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised at that, because he's given Curtis an opportunity to come up with something. Yes, he's covered the yellow at the bottom of the table and the black's still a problem, but he's sort of leaving Curtis opportunities.
Curtis takes the opportunity to take the pocket.
I suspect Nicky's just going to retake it. And he might be able to retake, I was going to say he might retake this and develop the black at the same time, but the problem is if you don't quite get it right, he hasn't got it right, now he's opened the frame up for Curtis. I think that was a little bit too risky.
Yeah, you just see the way that he almost spun on his heel there. He knew he just opened it up for his opponent, needed to get the white safe, and actually he's opened it up quite beautifully for Curtis here.
Yeah,
if he can get the red out when he pots the yellow, then he's really in business.
Yeah, absolutely. You just open up the pocket for the black. If he gets when Nicky plays that shot, and he gets the pocket, then it's a great choice of shot because he's opened up the black, and whatever Curtis comes up with, Nicky should have a great chance for a clearance. But I thought it was going to be, almost called it before he played the shot, that it was going to be just a little bit too risky in terms of if you don't quite get the pocket, you're giving the frame away.
So 2 balls at the top of the table. Needs to come down for the black. Doesn't want to leave himself a really difficult long pot. Will only go into one of the pockets at the bottom.
That's a really nicely controlled shot. Just killed it in with a bit of drag, and it looks like he could just come off the side cushion. He might screw this straight down the table, almost use the red that would leave the white straight in on the black as a bit of a target, or he might come off the side cushion and have the same ball as a target. Doesn't want to reach it, just wants to have that as a sort of the line of the white. Oh, he's come up short. You see he's got the line perfect, he's just a good couple of foot short. The black still goes, but it's very, very missable.
You can say that again. This is all of a sudden now a very, very tough shot. He's going to play it, has no choice.
Great shot.
Oh, that's a really, really good putt from Curtis Lee. Played that exceptionally well, gave himself the challenge, and he rose to it. And that is a quite beautifully played shot, right in the heart of the pocket as well. Really nicely done. And man with the blue hair and the blue shoes on the blue table gets his first frame of the Champions Cup.
Yeah, that was a great black. We talked about those 3 missed pots he's had. That's been more down to the positional play rather than actually just straight misses of the pots. And you know, it was the positional play that made that black so difficult, which is what impresses me so much about the fact that he made it.
And you see there 2 dry breaks from Nicky as well, off both of his breaks, and you get the sense that's just allowed Curtis more opportunities rather than Nicky would have, in an ideal world, preferred.
Yeah, it has, but Nicky will know that he should probably be 3-0 up. He should have found a way of winning that frame once Curtis doesn't get the finish originally. He had enough ball on the table to find a way of getting control in that frame and probably working out how to win it. So he'll probably be more annoyed than Curtis will at this stage, even though Curtis is behind.
Curtis then with the break. And he didn't particularly get into his last one all that well, but did get a ball down. He's got a couple in this time round. 3 in fact, and you can't say he didn't get into that one. He held nothing back.
Yeah, he's hit this break absolutely brilliantly. Look at all those balls moving all around the table. More balls.
So nearly got the whites in there.
Yeah, more balls in the top half of the table than the bottom, you know, or have come in and out. It's a fantastic break. But
I don't think he's got the easiest first pot though.
No,
he's a little unlucky in that sense.
Yeah, if he can negotiate this, I think the yellow goes to the left centre. I think he just needs to get down and back himself to make it. If he drops it in, then the yellows are a nice, comfortable finish. He just hear the beeps going. He's called for his extension. I think this yellow goes past the red to the centre pocket. And yes, it does quite comfortably. Just, if he cues this in, this is the frame here, and he's just missed it.
You can see the frustration. He can't believe it. Do you think that red was in his mind as he played that shot? Did seem to almost play that as if he was looking to avoid it.
It did, because he missed it going away from the red, but from the camera angle we saw, it didn't look like the red was in the way at all. I think he's just, it was just a tough pot that he's missed. From right when you're queuing right from the jaws, it is tricky. This is the key shot here for Nicky. He needs to get good angle, go from the top end of the table to the bottom end of the table. He's got both those reds go, so he can be on a choice of the 2. But it's how he gets from one of those to the next one. And he's overhit this. He's actually a little bit fortunate to get the brush off the yellow. Without the brush off the yellow, he's probably snookered.
yeah, just helped slow it down, which is what he needed drastically there.
Yeah.
He's played a good shot here though.
Yeah, he was okay. I thought he was a little bit more angle on that than it was, and it was actually perfect. I think without the yellow, he probably would have snookered himself.
See there that stern look on the face of Curtis Lee. He knows he was well in that frame, and he didn't even put it
Brave
in.
Nicky.
Yeah, I said it at the time, that frame was probably all about that first shot. If he makes that first shot, he wins the frame. If he misses it, he loses the frame. That's how he would have been thinking in his head. Unfortunately, he just flipped the near jaw, and it stayed up.
Next week, in week 5 of the IPA FreeSports Champions Cup, we are in Sheffield, and this is a good-looking line. Jason Rivington taking on Michael Rhodes, and Jack Heckingbottom versus Jordan Shepherd. Are you excited for that?
Yeah, absolutely. Jordan Shepherd's the seed in this group, and absolute superstar, and I love watching Jordan play. He's one of the most entertaining players to watch. Runs around the table at a million miles an hour, comes up with crazy shots and crazy finishes, and he'll start this group as a nice favourite. But Jason and Michael, that will be a fantastic match, and I suspect if Jordan does does win that first match, which isn't a given, but if he does, then whoever wins that, Jason and Michael, will put up a really good fight against him.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Riley's in Sheffield, 7 o'clock, same time next week on Free Sports. Monday nights are pool nights on Free Sports, and we are really enjoying this Champions Cup so far. It really has been fantastic entertainment, and we are expecting that to continue, especially as Simon says with the introduction of Jordan Shepherd. You just see the shake of the head there from Nicky Griffiths. He cannot believe he's not potted a ball off the break yet.
Yeah, but you'll see with this break, the first 2 breaks he hits brilliantly, and the balls go everywhere, and he's got every right to be annoyed that he's dry. But this one, you can see it's almost a bit of a dead pack. They didn't split. There wasn't that many balls travelling around. There's not too much movement, so almost expected that one to be dry.
Yellow's in play.
And Curtis Lee with a half-decent chance here to put himself back within 1. Any problem issues?
Yeah, well, he tried to play onto that yellow, to cannon the yellow on the rail out, and if he'd hit it with a fraction more pace, then he would be a bit more comfortable here. He's a bit awkward on this one down the rail. I don't think he can see anything else to pot. Then he does have some problems after this, but this is a tough pot anyway. It was one where I'm not sure I'm going to call that one a missed pot. I think he was probably just trying to take the pocket. He may have been trying to pot it, but I think he was very aware that if I play it at that pace, I take the pocket, and reds are very tough.
Yeah, they certainly are. Yeah, I think the way that Curtis reacted there does indicate that he was just trying to hold position as opposed to potting that one. Nicky going, but no doubt about that. That was an attempted pot from Nicky.
That was tough. Tough pot, but he's gone for it, and he was trying to get the white. He's trying to get the white down to where it has done, to get into his problem area. He's been fairly fortunate. He could have easily knocked that yellow in the way he played that. Curtis is just trying to make the table as messy as possible for reds, and he's played quite a nice shot there. Just nudge that red up to the rail, put 2 reds together on the rail, just makes them awkward. I said in the first or second frame when we had a tactical battle that I think these tactical battles will probably be better suited for Curtis than Nicky.
Well, when you have 2 reds together, then there's always the risk, and actually that worked out really nicely for Nicky Griffiths, just to get that one into the top corner. It's still not an easy lie, and in fact he just almost played that as a shot to nothing.
Yeah, Curtis is going to be annoyed with that, leaving the plant the way he did. You know, he played the shot quite nicely, and if that red's anything but where it finished, the plant isn't on, and Nicky doesn't have the opportunity to do what he did.
Yeah, Nicky has been left the one on the top rail, but you can see plenty of issues down the bottom of the table.
Yeah, Nicky's quite an aggressive player. It wouldn't surprise me if he goes for this finish. But he's just going to bump this red out, so he's just going to come across this, bump the red out.
Yeah, bump the red in.
And that's a massive touch of fortune for him, because he's actually, now he's got an opportunity to go for it.
Oh, how's your luck? We've mentioned actually how unlucky he's been on the breaks in particular. I think he's just had it refunded with interest there.
Yeah, that's very fortunate. I wonder if he's got enough angle on this red at the bottom of the table. Can he get into the red and yellow? No, but he can now off this next shot. So he's going to pop this red to the bottom right, and he's going to cannon into the red and yellow. Now,
You see there with his cue, he's pointing the angle.
yeah, and the problem he's got is if the white stops. Yeah, I was going to say, the problem he's got is if the white stops on that yellow and stays at the bottom end of the table, he could be left with nothing. And I think that's what's happened. Or no, he can see it past the black. He has got pots on.
Just about see the red on the right hand side there. In fact, even if you want, I think you could probably cut the one closest to the pocket as well as an option for him.
Yeah, you can take either of the two outside ones. I think you could even probably play the middle one off the red at nearest the pocket. But I think, for me, I think the comfortable shot would be to take the red just to the right hand of the two, and you can just cue this one in nicely and leave the white on the right hand side rail, and you've got the red to the left centre, and then from there it's routine. So if he makes this shot, it should be frame.
Big shot there this then. Oh, and he's missed it. Well, what a good chance to go 4-1 up, and at that point you'd really expect Nicky Griffiths to be hot favourite to take the frame, to take the match out, but it could be a whole different ball game here if Curtis Lee can hoover these up. 3-2 is an entirely different proposition. Is there a good chance?
Yeah, it's a good first shot from from Curtis, sorry. The ball that's got the problem is the yellow that's on the rail. He's I don't think he'll look to move it. He can look to play on it. The problem with playing on it is that black can become a blocker if you don't get right behind it. He also could play a double. It's a nice, comfortable position for a double in a couple of shots' time. Just depends which way he wants to go about this.
And you see there the shot clock ticking down all the while. Plays it nicely, both going in at once. I don't think he'll be too bothered about that.
Yeah, so it looks like he is going to play on the one on the rail now. He's got to be careful. He's got to avoid the red and come sort of in between the red and the black. Looks like the natural angle of this pot is going to go very, very close to that red. He just needs to avoid it. And he has.
Well, it's a tough shot, isn't it? But it's a sort of pot that Curtis will feel like he needs to make if he's to get his way back into this match. He was afforded the opportunity, courtesy of that miss by Nicky. And this is not easy. Does drop though. Played it at just enough pace to give it a chance.
Yeah, I thought that was going to stay up. It just flicks the near jaw, and normally when you flick the near jaw it won't go in, but it just slid in off that near jaw. And, fortunately enough for Curtis, that's worked out nicely. He's underhit that positional shot, but there shouldn't be a problem with this black.
Yeah, it should be fairly straightforward this for Curtis Lee. Indeed it is. Black drops in. It's 3-2, and having had the chance to go 4-1 up, Nicky Griffiths is now pegged back to 3-2. It really is anyone's game here. It's so even.
Yeah, it is. You just look at those missed pots from Curtis. I think I said this at 2-1. I think Curtis could be the happier of the two players, even though he's 3-2 down. Nicky could be away with this match by now.
And he isn't. He's got some work to do in the second half of this one, and that's coming up after the break.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Foul. 3 visit, 3 table. Time running. Visit over. Reds in play. Frame lead.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Welcome back to Cardiff, this semi-final in the IPA FreeSports Champions Cup between Nicky Griffiths and Curtis Lee. I would say you haven't missed anything, but that's not quite the case because Nicky Griffiths fired off a frame in no time at all. Curtis Lee going in off the break, and Nicky Griffiths absolutely hoovered up the balls. And then he's got a ball down on his next break as well. It all seems to be coming up quite nicely here for Nicky Griffiths. Let's have a little look at this break. He finally gets the ball down. It's not the most comfortable lie, but he'll be delighted just to be at the table.
Yeah, he's three dry breaks from 3. He's completely changed his break, gone for the cut break, tried to go for a different way of trying to make a ball, and he has. It's a slightly awkward split, but I think there's a finish on for him.
And this is how he ended the last frame. A couple of really nice positional shots in particular. We noticed there as we were watching just off air, Simon, that he seems to be playing with a lot of confidence now. It's really sort of coursing through him.
Yeah, you can really see when he's at the table how confident he looks. And yes, he's missed a couple of balls, but he's not letting them affect him. He's just he looks a very confident player at the moment.
Well, when he was, it's an observation that we've mentioned a few times, that sometimes when players just play at their own pace, as if they're playing in their club, it's just so impressive to watch, and that's exactly what happened in the last frame with Nicky. He rattled them off so quickly. The frame was really over in about a minute.
Yeah, it's what we were talking about at the start of the match, actually. The players, you know, if they can just play at their own pace and find their own rhythm, the natural pace there for Nicky, there was no problems to work out. He didn't need to overthink anything. Just saw his pattern and worked his way through it, and it is so impressive to watch when players.
And in fact, there was a shot towards the end of the frame that I get the sense he only played because he didn't particularly want to cross round to the other side of the table.
Yeah,
that was the sort of nature of the way he played it. Topped all the way through to come back, almost out of a sort of a really stylish laziness in a way.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a swagger about Nicky. Which I quite like seeing. He's not in an overly arrogant or disrespectful way. It's just a very, very confident swagger with the way he's playing at the moment. So his biggest problem here is going to be the black. So he's got the yellow. He's going to play the yellow to the centre pocket, and he's going to come the side cushion and probably top cushion. And it depends how straight he is on this yellow. He
doesn't look particularly happy with it.
He's okay. I think he can get the white back roughly where his hand is. Oh, he's overhit it.
He doesn't like that at all. I don't think that black passes the red.
No, I'm certain it doesn't. He was trying to put the white roughly where his hand was. You can see just there with the black to the centre pocket. And he's just overhit it. So, what's he got on now? Oh, black off the red, but that was a long shot.
That was a really tough shot to take on, but I suppose he didn't really have a huge amount of other options, and all of a sudden now, for Curtis Lee, the way these are lined up, this is almost like a practice session, isn't it?
Yeah, it'd be a major mistake now from Curtis not to win this frame. He's got a free shot, but in truth he doesn't really need it. Everything goes, there's no problems. Even the black's gone to a position where it's nice and comfortable. Nicky sat down knowing that this frame is over, and Curtis just needs to mind his work, and the pattern of the match would continue.
If there has been one thing Curtis has been guilty of, he's played very well on the whole, but he has had a couple of misses which have been unexpected when they've come, and they've come at times which have cost him frames.
Yeah, and they've come because of poor positional play, and where he's had to either play a pot thick or thin, or he's worried about pace. In this finish there really is nothing to worry about. He's going to take this red to the bottom right corner now, and he's got so much margin of error. He can put the white anywhere he likes. There's going to be no issues here at all for Curtis.
Yeah, take your pick, really. It's a nice setup this for Curtis Lee, and Nicky, despite trying to get away and clear and to win the match, Curtis is clinging on to his coattails.
And it feels like that, to be honest, the way this match has gone. You feel like Curtis has made a couple more mistakes than Nicky, and that he's almost hanging on to this match. You sort of feel like Nicky could almost be out of sight by now, but the longer that Curtis can hang in there, the pattern of the match could turn around, and all of a sudden he might be the one getting the chances. So he just needs to hang in there and hope that it changes.
That's himself a nice angle on the red here to come across nice and easily for the black. Shouldn't be a mistake from here. Curtis Lee. That goes round off 2 cushions. For this one, maybe not as easy as he would have liked, but he will still very much fancy this one to make it 4-3. It's no trouble at all for Curtis Lee. He clings on in this match. He's back to within 1 frame.
Yeah, I said at 2-1 and I said at 3-2 that I almost think that Curtis is probably the happier of the 2 players.
And there we go. This is the top half of the draw in the FreeSports Champions Cup. A couple of games being played already. That was in Washington. Mark Farnsworth and Mickey Oliver winning their round 1 games. Mark Farnsworth winning that final. You will recognise one Simon Webb in the middle of that page. Zach Wilkinson, your draw.
Yeah, looking forward to that one in April. We've got Simon Ward and the ladies world champion Michelle Rooney in the other 2 players in our group. So
Are you a bit salty about that draw?
no, it's fine. Could have been worse, could have been better. That's the way it goes.
Certainly could have been better. Simon Ward played particularly well at the start of this year. Great to see him in good form in the Welsh Open as well, because it was one of those where he played so well in the World Championships, gave so much that competition, that actually to see him go and win the Welsh Open, it won't be in his mind a complete consolation because it's not the World Championships, but it was still nice in a way for him.
Yeah, it was very impressive to see him do that as well. We've seen over the last couple of years the players that have gone very close to winning the World Championships in Craig and Ben that have actually won the World Championships. They haven't started the next season too well because you've only got a couple of weeks to recover from the high to have to start again, but it's so impressive to see Simon do that, and the way he won in the Welsh Open was absolutely incredible.
And it would have been so understandable for him to be really shaken by the way that final went, because it was so close. He couldn't have come closer to winning that World Championship. He was a couple of shots away.
Absolutely, yeah. It would have hurt, and that takes some getting over. But he's a fantastic player and a great professional, and he's straight back on it and wins his very next event. So very, very impressive.
And there's a good break from Curtis Lee. Gets one down and has got a good spread as well. The black has not moved a millimetre off its spot, which means it's pretty out in the open. It looks like a good setup this for him. Yeah,
just the hardest shot might be his first shot, actually. Just looking at it, you're thinking, oh, these reds look quite nice, and then thinking, well, he's not really got a red on, and then I'm thinking, well, yellows aren't so bad. He probably would rather be yellows, but rather be reds, but he's going to be forced to take yellows.
And he's gone after his first ball, or his hardest ball, straight away, I feel, down the rail. Screwed that nicely.
Yeah, and the yellow, I know it looks nice and open, the yellow to the top end of the table, but because of the way the reds are around it, getting on it and having good angle to get on it and come back out without cannoning into those reds is actually a lot harder than it looks. It looks a fairly comfortable ball, but it can become tricky because it's away from all his other balls.
Yeah, those reds almost become a wall, don't they? And it will be an issue for Curtis that he's got to overcome. Cued that beautifully down the rail.
Yeah, I think he probably wants to go after it now. I think if he's straight enough, or he is straight enough on the yellow to the top right, take that, roll through a couple of inches, leave yourself thin on the other yellow, and then you just have to avoid the reds coming back out for the yellow by your hand. So it's all about this shot now. It looks like the natural angle will be just to avoid the red, but it's often looks a little bit different on screen than it actually does when you get behind the shot. He may have to play this with a tracer side to avoid the red coming on and off the cushion. He wants to get the white back to not too far away from where it is now.
If he can avoid a red here, with a great shot at winning the frame, and he's done just that.
Brilliant.
Played it with quite a bit of side, just almost to make sure.
Yeah, just straightened it up off that first cushion just to make sure he avoids the red, and he's finished absolutely perfect now. It's just a nice straight stun shot and then 2 roll-ins. So very, very well done from Curtis. Just needs to mind his work.
And he mentioned right at the top of this match that we could be in for a close one, and he didn't really fancy calling it. Well, we're going to be 4-4 by the looks of this, barring a bad miss from Curtis, which he doesn't look capable of producing. He's queuing nicely, and you would really fancy him from here. Race to 6, don't forget. No too clear or anything like that. We will have a sudden death if it comes to it. He could have left himself a bit easier on this one.
Yeah,
He's left himself a couple of difficult blacks, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's just come up just far enough where it's missable. I don't expect him to miss it. I expect him to make this without a problem, but it's just enough to make you think.
He's playing nicely. Just has to be a little wary of the white ball there as well. But he played that nicely there, Curtis Lee. And we do have ourselves a tight match. It is going to go down to the wire, it looks like. This is the bottom half of the draw in the round 64. Ron McCarthy and Lee Ray winning their opening games in Washington in week 2. Ron McCarthy winning his final 6-0. He is playing very, very well at the start of this year. He won the professional Welsh competition on the tour recently. And last week in Cardiff we saw Craig Marsh and Corey Rees have good games in their semi-finals. Craig Marsh then won a very competitive final. So we've seen some really good action so far, particularly, as you mentioned earlier on, Simon, from the star players, but they're being pushed.
Yeah, it was really, really good last week. I really enjoyed last week's competition. I thought Corey played brilliantly well and pushed Craig, and it was nice to see Craig step up and find the gear that, you know, we took him to the World Championships, you know, a little over, 13, 14 months ago, and Craig back to his best is always great to watch.
In terms of the rest of the draw, though, are there any games that stand out for you, or you think, oh, that's going to be a really competitive group?
Well, I think next week's group's going to be exciting. I think any time Jordan Shepherd's playing is exciting, and I think he's up against it as well. He's going to be pushed.
Well, isn't it funny how breaks have worked out? Nicky Griffiths has probably queued his worst 2 breaks in his last 2, and he's potted a ball on both.
Yeah, he's changed his break from the front on break, where he was hitting the front on break so well but not making anything, and he's changed it for the side break, and he's not really, he's not quite getting the splits, but he's making the ball, which is all important.
And the yellows don't look too bad from here. He has got a couple of problems to solve, though.
Yeah, he's just got that yellow on the right hand side. Now I wonder if he can drop the top yellow of these 2 into the left centre and leave himself an angle on the other yellow to go into that yellow. It looks too straight to me. It looks like he needed about a half ball contact on that, just to show the white, just to make the white go to the left hand side, to leave him an angle to screw into this yellow, and you can see he's got a bad angle to get into it, so he's now going to have to come up with something else. I think this may be one where you need to pull back and play safe. If you can see enough of this yellow now, just to bump into it full ball, nudge that yellow down the rail, you'd be leaving no shot on. You could probably just about see enough of that yellow, bump it over the pocket, leave the white where the yellow is, and there'd be no shot on for Curtis, and whatever Curtis does, Nicky would have a chance for the frame, but he's going to go for the finish instead.
Has been playing nicely when he's been at the table, and I don't think he's enjoyed particularly watching Curtis Lee sweep up the last 2 frames. He wants to have a go, wants to come and attack.
Yeah, I think Nicky, he knows he really should be out of sight in this match. Just the way the chances went in the first 7 frames, he probably felt like he should have either won the match or been on the been one away. He knows he's had the chances to do that, but he hasn't, and then as soon as you make that mistake and let Curtis off, he responds with a break and dish to tie the scores up. So yeah, I think Nicky would definitely be the most frustrated out of the 2 players. Seemed an odd shot to me. He didn't attempt to go into that yellow there. He didn't play it with any pace or side to get into the yellow, so almost in a way that he thought, I don't really know what he was playing on there.
A shot. He's a little unlucky to see that come out the way it has.
Yeah, he is, but the chances were that was going to happen. You know, whenever you leave your hardest, you know, you have to cannon your bad ball out last. The only ball you can be on is the ball you're cannoning. So there was a good chance of that going safe. There was probably more chance of it coming out safe than it was coming out on. He probably wanted really just to cannon the red above it and not touch the yellow, so that he would be on it down the rail. But I think he can still cut this in, but this white is going to be flying into those reds. Oh, great shot. What a great shot. Brilliant.
Yellow's dropped now. Has he snookered himself? Can he just see the potting under the black? I think he's okay.
I think you can see Curtis just tapping his leg, which suggests that it was a great shot, and he can see it because he's right behind the line of this shot.
A terrific pot that from Nicky Griffiths. He moves into a 5-4 lead. He really had to work hard for that one. It wasn't easy. And this is the shot that got in there. Terrific pot down the rail. Really, really good.
Yeah, all the way through that finish, I thought, are you chasing a finish that's not quite there? Are you trying to make something happen that's not quite there? But he's pulled out a big shot to win that frame and puts him one away from victory. And it was a great shot.
And this is what we've got to look forward to in the FreeSports Champions Cup. We're in Cardiff on week number 4. And we're going to fill in the name underneath Craig Marsh tonight. Next week we are in Sheffield, and we're going to Chester, Solihull, back to Cardiff. That's your week there, Simon.
It is.
Then down to London, in Twickenham, back to Sheffield, and then a couple of weeks up in Scotland as well, as we visit the players north of the border. And it's a really interesting competition. If you're not quite figured out already, the 16 weeks each produce a player to win and to move into round 2. Then it's the last 16. We'll play that over the course of some weeks. Quarter-final, semi-final, final, all pretty straightforward. It's a very sort of a long process, this competition, but it's going to hopefully make it all the more satisfying when we come to the conclusion.
Yeah, it's essentially just a straight 64-man single elimination tournament, but it's played in group stages in terms of you play your last 64 and last. Essentially, this is a last 64 match, and the winner of this would then go on to last 32. But it's played in group stages, which is a slightly different dynamic.
And of course, with the element of it being a slightly localised tournament, a lot of these players tend to know each other very, very well. And Nicky and Christian, for example, having a lot of banter prior to them coming out to play tonight, and you know, I think that's quite nice for the players.
Yeah, it is. It's you know. Normally we're travel to a venue, the whole tournament's played from one venue, but travelling around the country, the tournament is slightly localised with a draw. It is a random draw, but with some localisation into it. And yeah, there are a lot. You're going to get a lot of matchups where there are players that have played each other a lot and are good friends.
That was a lovely shot from Nicky Griffiths there, just to roll that one in, and it does look as if that last sort of clear up has given him a real shot in the arm hit.
Yeah, this was Curtis really didn't hit this break very well at all. The balls didn't split open at all. He came up dry, and it looked a messy table, but with a good first pot and a nice second controlled sort of cannon with his second shot, he's now got an opportunity to win the match here and now. Just he wants to take this into the centre now, just to open everything up, but he's missed the pot.
I just wonder, would you have been totally happy with the potting angle there? Was that shot even on?
Yeah, I think the shot was on, but maybe the black wasn't in his mind in terms of if the black's not there, I don't think he misses that pot, but it was definitely on. Yeah, so he's actually been quite fortunate here because he's not really left Curtis a very nice yellow to go at. He's got this first cut back, and that's a very, very well controlled shot, and now he's in good position.
Every time that it appears Nicky Griffiths is going to run away with this, Curtis Lee just pegs him back.
Yeah, he's just giving him enough to give him hope and keep him in this match. So it's just the two yellows on the left-hand side on that rail. He just needs to take the bottom one before he tries to take the top one. He's got to take them in the right order. I don't think he's going to look to move them. I think he's just going to play on them.
he's got a couple of balls on the left rail as we look at it, but I don't think he's going to be too perturbed by them.
Yeah, the one nearest the pocket's not much of a problem. It's going to be the one just above it. He's finished Chinese snookered here, but it's not too difficult to make the pot to the centre, and you'll be getting on the one to the left corner. It's going to be the one just above it that's going to be the problem. Does he's got an angle where he can screw into this yellow, but if he catches it full ball, there's a good chance he's not on anything. If he just rolls this in, he could take the one to the top right, but then he has to get back down to the one that's nearest his hand. He could take the one he's nearest to into the centre now, but it is very, very tight, very tough.
Yeah, he's got a decision to make here, only 25 seconds to do it.
Yeah, he wanted a little bit more angle on this yellow so that he could sort of screw up past it, but I don't think he can avoid that yellow.
You can see him almost sprinting around the table to give himself enough time. We mentioned at the top of the match that he is one of the slower players on the circuit, loves to take every single possibility into consideration.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's fully made up his mind, and he hasn't got much time left.
He has called his extension. I hope he's wearing his pedometer, Curtis Lee. Eventually makes the decision.
Yeah, just the way he's gone about this finish, the order he's taken these, he's left himself with 3 tricky shots left to win this this frame.
You can't tell if that puff of the cheeks was one of determination or maybe too many steps.
Yeah.
It's a tough shot this, but if he gets it, he's in a really good position. Where's the white ball?
He's not come across the table far enough to be on this down the rail comfortably. He can still cut this in. He may choose to go for a double. Don't think that red's in the way. I think the double might be his option. I think the cut's probably the right shot, you know, when you weigh it up, because if you miss it, you've got half a chance of taking the pocket. So I think the cut is still going to be the shot. Great shot.
Oh, he's played that absolutely millimetre perfect. In terms of the pot, the white ball is anything but millimetre perfect. He can't believe that. A little stomp of frustration as well. The way he played that, the pace he played that, was in case he nudged either jaw, you have to drop it in so slowly. He actually could have afforded to play it quicker because he cued it perfectly.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit unlucky. He's come up, you know, not even half a roll short. He's got every right to feel a little bit frustrated. Oh, has he made it?
Oh, goodness me. Well, he will feel that that's justice done for the shot that he played to get on the black. Terrific shot that from Curtis Lee. Well, well. Wow. And you can see the energy coursing through him, can't you? He's straight up on his feet. He can't wait for this next frame now. This is the reaction. Didn't he enjoy that one?
It's going to be interesting to see how Nicky responds to that.
Judging by his face, I don't think you can really believe what's just happened. Because as a player sat in your chair there, as soon as Curtis plays that shot, you're preparing to get back up and try and clear.
Yeah, you're thinking you're going to get a chance any second to try, you know, to win the match, and then that happens. He's made a ball, and that's important.
Yeah, ever since Nicky's gone to the cut break, he's had a lot more success in getting a ball in, but they have been more sticky, I'd say.
Yeah, he'll be delighted with the way this has come out. He's got a really good chance here to win the match. These reds are fairly nice. He doesn't really he's going to hit that fraction, I think. Yeah, he doesn't really need to play any cannons. He might be able to play the red onto red as a plant if that's fairly straight. Then that's fairly comfortable. I think it is. I think Curtis will be fearing the worst here.
The frustrations of being a pool player, that he's just played one heck of a shot to take us to a decider. He might not actually get the chance to play another one.
Yeah, absolutely. it's just he's finished just slightly. If he was straight on this red, he'd screw back and play on the red on the plant. You'd want to get straight on it. But he's just got a little bit more angle that he might go a different way. Okay, he's on the red to the left centre or the red to the top right. If he takes the one to the top right, he can just screw back, you know, 6 inches to take the red below the black to the bottom left. But I wasn't expecting that. Didn't expect him to play that off the black.
Well, Curtis Lee could scarcely have got out of his chair quicker. He might not have been expecting a chance in this final frame. He's now got one.
Yeah, just a little bit surprised about how Nicky tried to go about that finish. Maybe the plant into the centre was trickier than I thought, and he wanted to not play that way. Maybe it's just a finish with a slightly off angle, but either way, I thought it was a slightly strange choice of shot. But if it flies in, he's got easy finish for the match. So.
Curtis's chances here are looking pretty good, having pretty much trailed the entire way through this match. He's been playing catch-up. A couple of fantastic shots at the end of the penultimate frame might have just set him up for a chance to win it.
So he's got that yellow on the right-hand side nearest the rail. That's going to be a problem. If he doesn't want to move it, he wants to play on it. That red becomes a little bit of a blocker.
Might potentially try and do it now.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna play on it, you want to play on it as early as possible. It looks like he's got an angle now where he can almost screw into the red that's above it. Use that as a bit of a target. He's played on the double. So I think he's going to play a double into that corner. If the lines were drawn a little bit better, they'd be going in.
He'll be hoping not to follow that.
Don't follow my line, but that's the sort of shot I'm thinking he's looking at. Wants to get that shot out of the way as quickly as possible. He's got to be careful. The white's going to be coming around 2 cushions, 3 cushions. Anywhere in the middle of the table, he's okay.
He's called the extension.
I think he's just gearing himself up for it. He could leave it and come back to it in a minute, but he's not great on the ones at the top of the table either.
Were you surprised that he didn't take the option to try and get behind it off the last yellow?
I think he had enough angle to probably play into that red and as a bit of a target. But it's quite a comfortable double, so it's the way he's seen it.
Needs it to drop. It does.
It's not on the next ball. He's on nothing. He's on
Not for the
additional shot.
Yeah, not for the first time. He's played a really good shot on the pot, but not got the position he'd like. I think the only option he's got is the yellow on the top cushion if he can cut it across, but that's perilous.
It's very tough, but it's one of those shots that if he doesn't make it, there's a good chance he takes the pocket and makes life tricky for Nicky. Oh, he hasn't hit it hard enough.
And he hasn't taken the pocket either. And that is the reaction of a man who thinks he might have played his last shot in this competition here. It was a very tough shot.
It was, but at the very least he needed to reach the pocket with it. He's left Nicky thin on this first red, but Nicky will just be delighted to have an opportunity. If he can control the white off this first red, it should be fairly simple. And that's perfect.
Shouldn't be any mistakes now for Nicky Griffiths. And there you see the error from Curtis not covering the pocket. Wouldn't have had this option if the yellow would come across just a couple of inches more. Simple screw back. And Nicky now with 1 pot to seal the match and a place in tonight's final. Oh, would you believe it? Would you believe it? A wry smile from Nicky Griffiths. He's caught it a little bit thin and given Curtis Lee a chance for an absolute steal.
That's incredible. In truth, he overscrewed the previous positional shot and left it on the rail and left it just awkward enough that it could have been missed, but I really didn't expect it. If that wasn't a black for the match, I don't think there's a chance he misses it.
Oh, that one as well wiped its feet for Curtis.
Yeah, he's plotted that purposely thick just to hold the white where it is now. He was worried if he makes that in the centre pocket, the white will just run a little bit loose. This is a very, very delicate pot. There's a lot of pressure on this.
There you go. Has to key this one perfectly. Just a delicate shot, plays it well.
This is still tough though.
I think it's exactly what we just described with Nicky. If it wasn't essentially the yellow for the match, he makes this. 99 times out of 100, perhaps even more.
I think he's just slightly worried about the in-off. I think it's difficult to say without getting right behind it whether the natural is going close to that corner pocket or not. Yeah, he just doesn't like it. He just does not like this angle.
He's only got 15 seconds. He's already used his extension. He's got to play it.
He's going to be going close. You can see that's why he's jacking the butt of the cue up. He's going to be going close to the corner if he doesn't. Oh, great shot.
Terrific shot from Curtis Lee. And he himself is on the cushion, but it should be a formality from this point. Nicky Griffiths cannot believe what he's witnessed. For the match for Curtis Lee. He's done it. He's done it behind the entire way through, and he came back at the very, very last to steal it. Curtis Lee takes the match by 6 frames to 5. Wow,
incredible match. Nicky had the chances really. He probably feels like he probably should have been further ahead than he was, and he was always the one, you know, 2 ahead a couple of times, but couldn't do anything to put him away, and then he missed that black for the match. It's felt like Curtis was hanging on, but when he got the chance to win the match, he took it very well.
An interesting one for Nicky is the 3 try breaks. I think at the start of the match, he'll now look back on as an opportunity that perhaps was wasted.
Possibly, but I think even though the first couple, even though he was dry, he was still getting chances in. Curtis took a while to get into the match, so I think Nicky probably started the quicker. Nicky will feel like he should have been further ahead, and you know he shouldn't have ever really been 5-5. He had the chances to win this earlier.
He certainly did, but it is Curtis Lee who advances through to tonight's final, and we'll hear from him after the break.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Not true.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Well, what an epic semi-final we saw in Cardiff, joined now by the winner, Curtis. How was that to play? And it was nervous to watch, never mind play. How did you find it?
Yeah, I struggled, to be honest, but I really enjoyed it. Just kept thinking positive, even though it weren't going great for me. Just tried to dig in all the way.
Yeah, it was a match where you're constantly chasing by the nature of it, but did that positivity just allow you just to not really think about the match and just focus on each frame as it came and gradually grind that win out?
Well, to be honest, I got a new kid. I've been struggling lately, so I've kind of like trying to pretend to myself that I'm playing well, and I just always thought positive, even though I was really struggling out there. And then in the end, lucky for me, I got through.
Even on that final shot with the black, did you still have that little flicker of hope that you might get another in?
No, in my head, I just cried. If you just thinking, just part it. You're going to win. You're going to win. That's why I just keep thinking. But yeah, your back arms all over the shop. A couple of shots I put in there was awful, but it's the way it goes, isn't it?
And we've noticed with this competition as well, obviously the introduction of the shot clock, particularly towards the end there, you had a couple of shots which you really had to think about jogging around the table.
Yeah.
That's taken some adjusting?
Yeah, it is for me, because I'm one of the slower pros on the tour for sure. But it weren't too bad with the extension. It was all right, but I really enjoyed it, even though I didn't play great. But a win's a win at the end of the day, so I'm happy.
And how much are you looking forward to the final?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm in it to win it. So let's give it all my all.
Well, we wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
And let's take a look at how he got there. Well, what an epic semi-final that was between Curtis Lee and Nicky Griffiths. It is all set then for the final between Curtis and our first semi-final winner, Christian Phillips, the seed in this group.
Group 4 final.
Should be a cracker, this. Not the game that maybe either was expecting at one point or another during this evening. But just speaking to Curtis there, he's absolutely buzzing to be in this final. Christian maybe had the slightly bigger air of perhaps expectation, coming in as the pre-group favourite here in week number 4 of this Champions Cup. But what a great opportunity for Curtis Lee to potentially put himself through into round 2 of this huge tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing I'm really interested in, Christian's had, I don't know, best part of an hour or so, maybe a little bit more to sort of get over the fact that he's won his first match, whereas Curtis is straight back on, and that would have been a real high for him to win that match, because it looked like he was going to lose. So, and especially the way he won the frame to go to a decider. Can he settle himself back down and get straight back to work?
Well, we should mention that Christian watched the conclusion of the second semi-final, and his reaction to the missed pop from Nicky was one of utter disbelief.
Yeah,
he was just as big a fan as anyone in pool watching that game. He couldn't believe it. He was potting every ball for both players. But after such a big moment in his semi-final, Curtis Lee has really got into the break, put it as much effort as he possibly can into it, and he's gone it off.
Yeah, that's probably as well as he's hit the break tonight, but the white's flown straight in off, and he's presented Christian with a great chance to get straight into this match.
And this is the perfect setup here for Christian. This is exactly what he would have wanted to come into this final with. You mentioned there was, potentially a chance for him to be a bit cold and a bit out of touch, because he's had to wait a little while since his first semi-final. Well, a free ball off the break is the dream scenario.
So I was just wondering whether he was going to develop the yellow. The yellow he just played was his only bad yellow if he wanted yellows. I don't know whether he's going to develop the yellow and then go yellows, or he's just put the yellow safe and then he's going reds. Well, not necessarily put the yellow safe, more just bumped it out the way so he's on reds. So he has gone for the latter option, and he could just drop this in, and he's got the red to the centre. It does go past the yellow.
Reds in play.
Yeah, the yellow essentially makes it a very big pocket, that red above the right centre.
I was about to say, under normal circumstances you'd want to screw back to take the red to the bottom left corner like he has now, but I think it was a little bit risky to play a shot like that, because the yellow was always going to get moving away towards those reds, but he's actually been a touch fortunate for that yellow not to hamper either of those reds. That could have gone wrong easily.
Actually, it's come out very, very nicely for Christian here, and he's big favourite here to take the first frame of this final. He was painting my numbers in the end for Christian Phillips. No trouble at all with his clearance there. As soon as that first shot was played, he made that look very, very simple, and it's the dream start to the final. He leads by frames to 0. A reminder of Christian's recent form. Did have a pretty good year, generally speaking, last year. It wasn't bad necessarily, but his run at the World Championships was really what caught the eye.
It really did. He made the quarterfinals, but it wasn't just making the quarterfinals, it's the way he made the quarterfinals. He went 2-0 down in, I think, at least 2 or 3 of his first earlier round matches, and was able to...
He really did play an awful lot of ball at those championships.
I'm not sure of the exact stats, but he went to 5 sets a lot. And that match he lost to Ben there, he was that was 3-all. He was 2 sets to them up and 3-all, with a great chance to win that match, and he got a kick, and that cost him the finish. Ben responded and then won the last 2 sets. So that would have hurt, because he looked like he was going to win that match. But it would still, when he reflects on it, run to the quarterfinals of the World Championships, it was a great effort.
And isn't it funny how sport so often works out that if Christian Phillips hadn't got a kick against Ben Davies in that quarter-final, he'd have probably coasted through to win it, and our world champion would have been out the quarter-final stage.
Yeah, well, I'm a sort of, you know, you could probably make those arguments all the way through tournaments. So you need a little bit of luck here and there to win these sort of events and win all major.
But that just did seem like a real individual precise moment where it just seemed to swing for Ben, and obviously against Christian by that very nature. But he mentioned earlier he wanted to make sure that he knew he played well in the World Championships, so he wanted to make sure that it wasn't just a one-off. He really wants to continue that this year.
Yeah, he needs to back that up now with having a good, successful 2018 season, and he's you know, he started the year with that great run at the Worlds, and that's fine. But if you don't carry it on, then he will be disappointed. I'm fairly certain, and I may be wrong, and I apologise to Christian if I am, but I don't think he's yet won a tournament on the IPA. He's gone very close with a couple of finals, and I think that's something that's definitely annoys him, and I think he needs to, you know, something he's going to want to put right. And if he's playing as well as he is and as well as he was at the World Championships, maybe this is his year.
The thing is, with the Champions Cup, if you're in it, you've got an excellent chance of going far, because the matches are so short that if you're playing well, then you've got a real chance of going deep in this competition.
Absolutely, you know, it's quite a nice format for, you know, the way it's set up in terms of you can gear yourself up. You've got, if he can win this match tonight, then he's got himself, you know, a nice, you know, 3 months off until he plays in the tournament again, and gear himself up again for the, you know, the next night. And you know, all he has to do is, you know, it breaks the tournament down into manageable chunks. You know, the next tournament will probably if he wins tonight, the next night for him would be winning 2 more matches, and that would put him into the semi-finals. So, you know, it's absolutely it's quite a unique way of running a tournament.
Yeah, there is an element of, that's a lovely shot by the way, just to screw back perfectly straight on this red. He's got a big bag with the yellow near it as well. Didn't even need it, played it really well. And he's flown out of the blocks in this final. There's Christian Phillips, that's 2-zip in no time at all.
Yeah, perfect start from Christian. He's punished Curtis's in-off on the first break with a reverse dish and then a break dish to back that up. So absolutely perfect start from Christian. So we have a look at Curtis's recent tournament history. And, he'd probably be disappointed with the way he's gone in the last 12 to 18 months on the IPA tour. When he turned professional 2 years ago, it looked like he was going to get some, you know, he had some great wins and got deep in a few tournaments, but it hasn't really pushed on from that, and maybe even anything gone backwards. But perhaps with this win, that will give him the spur to sort of get back on the front foot again.
Well, he said something really interesting in his interview, which I thought it was really interesting speaking to him actually. Just before we went on air, he was speaking about how he's constantly trying to play with a positive attitude, really think positive, even when Nicky was lining up that black to win the match, he still thought positive. I'm going to get a chance, and that positive thinking tied in with the way he's treated the start to this year, because he said he's got a new cue and he doesn't feel like he's playing well, but he's telling himself he is playing well and trying to get himself into that positive mindset to almost force himself to do so.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's you know, such a massive thing if you can stay positive and believe that you're going to, you know, play well. And you know, this game is so mental that if you're struggling and you believe you're struggling, you're going to struggle more. So you have to stay positive and have to believe. And, if he's doing that, then fair play to him. And I'm going to go and talk to him later and try and get some tips to do it myself.
Arrow straight down the line for the break, and this one he gets really into as well. And I think he's going to be unlucky there. So there's only 4 balls plus the black in the bottom half of the table, and somehow not a single ball there, not even the white that's gone down.
Yeah, he tried with the white. The white went close to the corner, but it's a surprise when you hit the break that well that nothing goes down. And the way Christian started this match, you know, you fully expect him to take advantage of this as well. So he's got one bad ball. It looks like yellows are going to be his option. The one really bad ball is the yellow at the bottom of the table as we look now. This yellow here, if he goes yellows, is going to be his biggest problem. The other yellows are awkward, but they're solvable. Right, he's gone reds.
Do you think that's the sole reason why?
Yeah, possibly. That was definitely a trickier yellow to get out. The reason I hadn't given it reds too much thought was because they, at first glance, look messier. Actually, the reds to the top right, they do go. He can play the one nearest the top right pocket off the yellow, which will open up the pocket for the other red at the top right. So actually, apart from the red in the middle of the top of the table, they're all fairly comfortable. Just at first glance, I just wrote them off because of the top right hand pocket, but that's actually not that bad.
Yeah, we'll need some precise pots though from Phillips. That's nicely done. Just wanted that yellow to come out a little bit more. He doesn't like that too much. Might be able to recover it though.
Yeah, the white, he's not played a very good positional shot there. Oh, that red at the top of the table I said that was going to be a problem does go to the other corner pocket, and that's what he was playing on, but that yellow has nudged it awkward. He's still on this red to the centre, but positional playoff, it's tricky, and it's a tricky pot.
He's not even going to take it on. Doesn't like it at all. Goes for the long pot off the yellow. He's played the pot brilliantly, but again, he's a little out of position.
Yeah, the reason he's done that is that was a much easier pot than the one he was nearest to, actually, even though it looks harder, but because the yellow at the bottom of the table making it a big pocket, that was the easier of the two pots that he had on.
He's also had a bit of a double whammy in taking the yellow out of that pocket as well.
Yeah, he's just overhit the shot a fraction, and I think can he just see past the black to the red at the top of the table? If he can, then he's okay.
And that's what he's looking at. Oh, he's really rammed that in, and he's got completely stuck behind that yellow. I think that's the hardest we've seen a shot hit on this table yet.
Yeah, he knows he had a bad angle on that. That was the only ball he could pot, but he had a bad angle because he was going to go near that red. He wanted to be straight on the ball he's just potted, so he could just stun it in and play on the red that he's just cannoned into. That wasn't an option, which is why he's tried to play it with pace and make something happen, and it hasn't.
Sometimes so difficult to read the spin on the balls, because the one thing you get in ball is you see the red dots on the ball, you can see how many revolutions have been put on the cue ball, and the spin that was on that shot from Christian Phillips was something quite remarkable. He's done quite well to whip that shot out under pressure of the shot clock.
Yeah, no, that was just don't foul, make Curtis earn this frame. Don't just give it away with getting annoyed the fact you put yourself in a snooker and just carelessly not giving it full attention coming out of the snooker. And he's done that, and he has left Curtis slightly awkward. I don't think Curtis has got a comfortable pot to go for. I think he's probably got a safety option, play the yellow in the middle of the top rail, maybe half ball, let that yellow come into play and get the white behind the two yellows on the top of the table. Oh, he's come up with a different option.
Yeah, just moves that ball over the pocket.
Yeah, I think he was trying to pot that. Because he's not left it particularly safe. So he's by playing it that way, you've given Christian at least an opportunity to pot something. Whereas I thought he was going to play a safety shot. Just a very, very tough pot he's taken on.
Yeah, it's not the first time tonight he's left a cut like that a little bit short. When Christian has a pot on, it's not easy, and getting position onto the next one is even more difficult. Has he played it perfectly? I think he has.
Well, he's on the next red, but if he's straight, then he doesn't have much option on. He needs an angle on this to be able to go up the top, and you can see he's probably got just enough. Yeah, he's going to have to screw on and off. You can see how much he's raising the cue up here. This is very, very tough.
Just couldn't quite get into it, could he?
No, he played that with a lot of reverse side to try and get the white spinning up the table, but it was a bad angle for him.
If he wasn't on the cushion, I think he'd have had a good chance of getting it up there, but he had really had to chop down on that.
Yeah, the raising the butt, just he couldn't get the screw on that he needed to get up the table.
And what's his options here, Simon? If you're looking at this as a player, what are your first instincts?
Well, there's no obvious doubles. There's no obvious trebles. I mean, he's long odds to get this going towards any pocket anywhere. I wonder, can he cut it thin off that yellow? But that's you're a million to make that into the centre. I mean, could be a hit and hope. Oh, he's just gone for a straight cut, but that looked too thin.
Yeah, in fact, if he'd have played that a little bit more pace, he might have got incredibly lucky and left it sitting right on the black, because that's the line it took. There's no way he could have possibly played for that.
Yeah, I don't even think that cut in. I think he could hit that as thin as he liked, and it was still probably not going to go. So he was just forced into and forced into something that wasn't there.
And Curtis just using his opportunity there to knock his one problem ball far nearer the pocket. Now,
yeah,
is he perhaps looking at the top cushion here?
Well, I'm not sure. He's got no real options to get this going close to a pocket. Everything's really blocked. He's looking to see. I mean, he's looking to see if he can come across it to get into the going towards the top pocket up here, up towards the top right of the table as we look. But I don't think that shot's on. I don't think he can come off the top cushion. The shot he's tried, I don't think it's on again. I think he's been forced into two shots the last two visits where the shot's not really on. I was slightly surprised by Curtis's shot choice before, because you don't, in these situations, as much as Christian was a long shot to make that there, you don't really want to give your opponent an open look at the ball, because it's amazing what they can come up with. We talked about Curtis staying positive, and I think now's the time he needs to now be positive and not get too. This is a slightly messy table for yellows, but I think he needs to sort of grab the ball by the horns and go after this finish at the moment.
Yeah, just quite a sort of almost like a snooker-esque clearance here with the yellows being so compact together.
Yeah, he's on the one to the top on the top rail, but there's no real positional play off this yellow, unless he can see past the red to cut the yellow back to the top right. But I don't think he can, so he's going to be playing a safety shot here. But there's a good chance that if he is playing a safety shot, so he's going to be coming probably half ball off one of the two yellows on the left-hand side, there's a good chance that he leaves Christian a look at this red, and he's just every chance that Christian, if he can see this, will come up with a shot, a double or something.
He's played that quite well, I think, deliberately to block that option off.
Yeah, he was trying to get the white behind the black and also get the yellow in the line as well, so that you have double options of covering it off. And it was important that he did, because you don't want to give Christian an opportunity to try and come up with some sort of long double or some sort of creative shot.
Yeah, total snooker has been called by the referee.
So it looks like Christian can get to this from the top cushion. He may have to bend round the yellow to get to the red. Off the top cushion, so swerving it round the yellow, off the top cushion and into the red. Try and get it going towards the pocket.
Foul. Free visit, free table.
Well, now you have to make Curtis Lee huge favourite to take this.
Yeah, absolutely. The minute a player misses their last ball and leaves one on the table and you've got all yours, you become a big favourite to win the frame. And now that he's also got the foul, he's got a free shot to develop things as he sees fit. That he is a massive favourite to win this frame. And I think, in the race to 6, he's 2-0 down. I think it's very, very important that he does. I actually think it's really important that he does at this visit as well, just for his own confidence. You don't want to be giving Christian too many looks at that red.
Free visit over.
Okay, it's a nice first shot. That yellow he's just played, he'll probably now leave for his last ball, because it gives the most natural position onto the black. He's just a little bit. He wants to take the yellow to the top right, and it's just a little bit straight on it. He wanted to be able to take this one to the top or bottom, the right hand, top right or bottom right as we look now, and get to the one to the top left. That's okay as long as the natural angle's not cannoning into the red at the top of the table. So he's got the yellow to the left centre. As long as the natural angle's avoiding the red at the top of the table, then he's absolutely fine. If it is going into the red, then he needs to put some spin on this to avoid it.
I think he's just looking if he can see past the middle one to go all the way up to the top. Looks like he is choosing to do that. Did he get into it enough? I think he should be just okay.
Yeah, well, he's definitely on the yellow to the left centre, but as I said at the beginning of this visit, that, as soon as he moved that yellow to where it is now, he was sort of earmarked that as his last ball to get onto the black. He's going to have to reroute now and take it, and it shouldn't be a problem to get back onto the black, but, he's never quite had the white in this visit, never quite got it fully under control, but he's still okay.
Will be a big confidence boost if he can get his first frame on the board in this final. Has had a couple of moments where he's not been on the black as he would have liked, but pulled out the shot when he needed to in his semi-final against Nicky Griffiths. He's got to do it again. Not the easiest black. A face of pure concentration. And he drops it beautifully. Great shot. And Curtis Lee does indeed get his first frame on the board in this final. Needed that, you feel, just to keep pace with Christian Phillips, who threatened to run away with the third frame there, but Curtis dug in to give himself a chance.
Yeah, Christian had a great chance to get 3-0 ahead there, but just couldn't quite work out the balls in the order he needed to, and finished with one left and snookered himself. So, yeah, very, very important frame for Curtis, you feel. Touched on the fact that he wanted the balls he wanted to leave for his last ball to get on the black, and had to reroute, and you saw that he was left with a much tougher black than he would have had if he had been able to get white under more control earlier in that visit. Then that black, he would have been straight behind that black, and it would have been simple and all but unmissable. He has managed to pull out a very, very good shot on the black, but it would have been, a bit trickier than it needed to be.
Yeah, we've mentioned it before, haven't we, in our coverage, that sometimes when a player runs ever so slightly out of position, say on their third ball, on their fourth ball it's a little bit more, on their fifth ball it's a little bit more, instead they're digging themselves deeper and deeper into a hole.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happened there. He was just slightly out of position after his second shot. And we're talking fractions. He was dead straight when he wanted to have a fraction of an angle, and he just couldn't quite get back under control. And he had to keep rerouting. He managed to do it, which shows that he's obviously playing very well. But sometimes you'd rather get much closer control and just keep it easier.
Well, the joys of breaking in pool is that every single one is different, and the way nearly every single yellow is gathered on the side cushion there is pretty remarkable. Curtis is going to take reds here. I mean, I don't need to ask you what's his problem ball hit. That's fairly obvious. It's the one gathered in the middle of those yellows. That's why he's going to take that pocket. He knows it's not going to be a one visit frame.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There was a bad red that's very, very bad. It's very difficult. Even if you found, even if you could have created an angle to cannon into those yellows, there's no guarantee that red comes out, and that you're more likely to make the yellows easier for Christian than you are to make life easier for yourself. So Curtis has done the right thing. He's got himself reds. He's taken a bottom pocket, which is actually a nice pocket to have in terms of going into the cluster and also blocking Christian's balls. So, reds, it was important for him to get reds, and he's got control of his frame at the moment.
Yeah, I think the choice was, do I rather have one bad red or 6 bad yellows?
Yeah, absolutely.
Quite a remarkable break.
We often see, and he's decided to knock in another yellow into that bad cluster. We quite often see with these guys, it's a big break, pick your colour after the break and make a clearance, but there's many ways to win a frame of pool, and this was one that's definitely, you take your colour and then get to work from there with some tactical play.
Yeah, we could be here for a little while with this frame, you feel. That red does not look like it's moving anytime soon.
No, it's, you know...
And mainly because Curtis won't want to free it the way it is at the minute, because it means that he's freeing at least 2 or 3 of Christian's yellows.
Yeah, Curtis needs to find a way of getting that yellow out, that red out, without doing too much damage or without too much risk. Yes, he's got that red to the bottom left, which is important for him if he does choose to go into it at some point.
Which is why it's important for Curtis to leave as many reds on the table as possible. You know, viewers at home might be wondering, well, he's got a pot on here, why isn't he taking it on? The more reds he's got on the table, the more options he has, rather, to make something happen with his bad red.
Absolutely. There's no way Curtis wants to pot any balls until he knows how he's going to get that red out. It just doesn't want to do that. He needs the reds on the table to have some ammunition to go into that red.
It's a clever shot from Christian there to take that corner pocket.
But the problem is for Curtis is that Christian can just keep doing this. As long as that red's there, he can keep nudging his balls out and keep trying to make it awkward for the rest of the reds.
Really, really intriguing safety battle, this. Get the feeling it could be quite important by the time we look back at, well, what was the frame that really decided this match?
Yeah, absolutely. And I said in the Nicky Griffiths Curtis Lee match that I think Curtis would, you know, become favourite when it came to frames like this, the tactical frames. And I sort of I echo that with the match against Christian as well. I think Christian's much more, you know, if it's a wide open match, whether it's just both players going after a finish, you know, you fancy Christian to win. But, you know, when they go tactical, then I edge slightly towards Curtis. He's definitely more comfortable playing this style of frame.
And a really interesting tactical battle, as we mentioned, but a tactical battle that has to be fought with 45 seconds per shot. It's not a lot of time to think about it, and a chance here for Christian to get a really difficult snooker.
Yeah, I think he has got the total snooker.
He could have left him in a little bit more trouble, I feel there.
Yeah, there was a chance to get right behind that yellow, but the closer you get to getting right behind that yellow, the more likely you are to go in off as well. So had to be fairly careful, but it was very unlikely from the snooker he left that he was going to get a free shot from it.
You do get the sense that a free shot would make such a difference. Yeah, it's a case of who blinks first.
Yeah, Christian didn't want that one to go in. He just wants to nudge that over. That's a nice ball to cannon into that area at some point when he feels ready to go for it, which is quite a long way off now.
Curtis just looking back to his reds over the middle pocket again, doesn't want to pot it, and this frame is slowly developing. It's, if we take a reflect back on how this setup was at the start of the frame, it was very different to this. It's getting there.
Yeah, it's slowly edging there, but it's edging there because Christian's he's able to just, he's managed to get 3 or 4 of his bad balls out. He's just edging them further and further away from the cluster. And although we said at the start reds were big favourites, it's now becoming a bit more of a 50-50 battle. In fact, I'd probably rather be yellows now than I would be reds.
Yeah, which is a testament to Christian's safety play, it has to be said.
Yeah, the problem is that all Nicky's been able to do is just not, you know, he's just keeps just developing his balls and nudging them round. He's never been able to create any way of going into that bad ball, any way of seeing it, any way of opening it up. He's just been, you know, almost not really going anywhere with his shots.
Yeah, he seems to be dancing to Christian's tune as opposed to the other way around.
Yeah, Christian's just bumping them out with every shot that Christian's played so far on this visit, or this match, this frame. He's just been either developing a ball or nudging one of, you know, there's been more purpose in Christian's shots in this frame so far.
Yeah, Curtis has had to be a bit more, or has been rather, a bit more reactive as opposed to Christian. Is there ever a scenario where both players will just sort of have a little look and think, should we go again?
No, not really. The only time we ever have a re-rack is when, you know, it becomes forced in terms of an impossible snooker. There's no real option to look at each other and say, well, it's a bit of a stalemate either way. Just the way these rules are set up, that there's only a matter of time before one of them is going to get an opportunity to do something aggressive.
It's the beauty of the 8-ball rules, although he didn't want to knock that one in. Just mentioned a few minutes ago, a foul would be the chink in the armour, the opening.
Yeah, big mistake there. Just trying to get that, he's trying to get that yellow to hit the side cushion first and just nudge those reds up the table a fraction. The reason I say that is that those reds were blocking the black, so Christian's still thinking that far ahead, that he's thinking, I need to clear those reds at some point, so if I can get that yellow in amongst them, then that gives me an option to clear and open up the black. He's just got it wrong. It's still not easy for Curtis. He's got to be mindful of how he goes about trying to get this red out. He does have a free shot to develop the red, but the red's so well welded into those yellows that there's not that much control when he plays the shot.
Time running.
It looks like that he's going to, when he tries to get this red out, he's going to bump the yellow down the rail towards the... There was no guarantee that was ever going to come out that nicely, but in truth, he probably wasn't thinking finish there. He was thinking about gaining more control by nudging that yellow down towards the reds. And now that red, his bad red that's been in a bad spot all the time, he can't get it out from here, but in a couple of shots time he will be able to get it out. He's moved back a long way in front in this tactical battle.
Yeah, that was all afforded to him by the foul from Christian Phillips. It's cost him some hard yards in this frame.
Yeah, I quite like the way Curtis went about that. I could see a lot of players possibly just going into that cluster of yellows and one red, just trying to open it all out and then go after a finish, but he's decided to do it with more control in terms of, he potted a yellow, nudging another yellow awkward, limiting Christian's opportunities and making it easier for him to get his red out. So he can now get his red out if he wants to.
Already played 10 minutes in this frame. And there is the red out.
So Christian's getting sort of backed into a corner here, and it wouldn't surprise me to see him go after, chase a finish in a minute. He's now got one bad area as well, and that's obviously the pocket that's blocked with the red. He may look to try and get an angle to go into that in a minute.
Could he potentially look at trying to take the finish on from here, because he is almost backed in a sense that, Curtis is in prime position here and he's not really got many difficult balls now.
Yeah, he's got an opportunity now to take the yellow to the top right, come back a fraction. Well, it looks like he might go into it from here. Yeah, he's tried to go into the cluster. I know he's missed it by a long way, but he tried to go into the cluster at the bottom left. I was wondering whether he'd take the yellow to the top right first and then try and get a better angle on the yellow that he's just played to go into that cluster. Christian's gone back to just trying to make it difficult for Curtis to go for a finish.
Now, one thing we mentioned earlier with the 8-ball rules, the way they are, the element of the skill shot does mean that that both players are in it. The cluster in the bottom left isn't necessarily the worst for either player.
No, and now that red's gone further away from that cluster, it's just as bad a problem for Curtis as it is for Christian. Christian has an option to play a double and cannon into it here, but that would be ultra aggressive. There's no need to do that.
And I think with the way, particularly the bottom yellow, as we look at the right-hand side of the two, just as you can see there, the right one of the two, that looks pretty straight onto the red. That's not the most difficult skill shot, I don't think, if Christian can get the angle on it. And
because of the two yellows there, it's actually quite a big target. So if Christian can find an angle to get an angle on one of his other balls to go into that area, it's quite a big target. Any contact in either of those yellows, and you have to feel that the red's going to drop in, and it should leave both the others on comfortably. So you know, you're absolutely right. This isn't the worst for Christian here.
Such an intriguing frame, this. It's already gone more than double the length of both of our first two. Christian's taking a good old look there.
The problem Christian's got is two of the balls that he's got in the open are actually so well into the pockets that it's very difficult to actually get to that area.
Nice, he does it there.
Oh, great shot.
What a shot that is. Well, we mentioned that anywhere on those yellows he's going to have a good chance of knocking that red in and clearing the pocket for himself. And as I say, if you're not necessarily familiar or really familiar with the rules of 8-ball that we play, that's a skills shot. It allows players to play aggressive pull. You can pot any ball on the table as long as you pot your own. So Christian there, well within his rights to pot Curtis's red as long as he potted his own yellow. And in doing so, he is now a huge favourite for the frame, although it's still not easy from here.
Yeah, the black is still, you know, he has to get nicely on it. If he gets right behind it, you wouldn't expect him to miss it. He's actually got half a chance here where he might be able to cannon it out. He has tried to cannon it out.
Oh, the yellow, the white was on the move. It was really on the move. I just wonder, he might be snookered here.
Yeah, I'm
think
slightly,
he should be okay.
I'm slightly surprised that he's tried to move that out, because he's such a good potter that, and it was a very good chance that he would get right behind that black and make it unmissable. I guess he took the view that if he cannons into it with the ball over both bottom pockets, it would be very, very unlucky for him not to be on the next ball.
You can see there, he could see enough of the yellow. Just about got away with that.
Yeah, and you can argue that he hasn't made the black that much easier than it was before either, so slightly strange shot choice.
Especially now.
I think this does go to the top left. I don't think if it goes to the top left, it's much easier than to the top right.
Extension called.
He's called his extension. Just give himself time over this shot. He knows how important it is. 3-1 is a huge difference to 2-2. See, it passes the red. No problem at all. It's the keying, which has to be spot on. Oh, and he's missed it. He's missed it. And Curtis Lee back at the table. I think he had a little hand of apology there to Curtis as well, because I think that black might have just knocked the red a little bit safe with it being next to it. But, oh, what a good chance it was for Christian Phillips to win the frame. And now Curtis Lee with a great chance, really great chance to tie this up.
Yeah, you just saw Christian just raise his hand to apologise, because he knows he's had a touch of fortune in the way the black's finished. But in truth, Curtis will just be happy that Christian's missed the ball, missed the black, and he's back at the table.
So a cautious approach.
It is a cautious approach, and one that he'll regret if Christian comes up with a big shot here, because Christian, because he can see the black, he's not hampered in any way. There's every chance he gets this black going towards the pocket. He does have an opportunity to play the double. He also has an opportunity to potentially play it into the centre pocket off the big bag, which I wonder if that's what he's looking at. That was flying into the top corner.
Oh, shake of the head from Christian, he can't believe it. How's your luck? That is arrowing into the top corner. And he gets the double kiss. wry smile from Christian. You can see here from this angle, we had a great view of it. That is arrowing straight into that top corner.
Yeah, and that's absolutely as played. I sort of called that he might go for the centre pocket, but that would be a tougher shot. He's gone for the treble all day long and had the line perfect. He's a little bit unfortunate, to be honest, that he hasn't made it.
But now it's important for Curtis that he pounces on his good fortune. We talked at the start of this match about how he had to think positively, how he is thinking positively, and he always believes he's going to get a chance. He's got a chance. Has to take it. Oh, he used every single millimetre in the pocket there. You just saw Christian actually just watch that one in with his mouth, making a very tiny little hole.
Yeah, I think he thought he'd missed that one for a second. He played that with an awful lot of check side just to avoid the white going into the black.
Just get the sense that Christian was halfway on his way up there.
Yeah, it was teasing him.
It was right in his pocket. Curtis bags the black. Eventually, no trouble whatsoever. It is 2-2 in the final. Here's the reaction. Just check Christian Phillips' face right here. Oh, he thought it was close. He thought he had a chance. Not quite.
Yeah, and this match feels very similar to the Curtis versus Nicky Griffiths match just before. It's sort of Curtis is hanging on.
Yeah, he is indeed. And just a reminder of what we've got coming up next week in the Champions Cup on Free Sports. Same place, same time, Free Sports, 7 PM. But we move to Sheffield from Cardiff as the Champions Cup Roadshow continues. We've got Jason Remington and Michael Rhodes facing off against each other after Jack Heckingbottom versus Jordan Shepherd. The exciting Welshman is the seed in our Sheffield draw. And we are very much looking forward to that one. Who will join Mark Farnsworth, Ben McCarthy and Craig Marsh, and one of Christian Phillips and Curtis Lee. Are we about to see our first seed fall in the Champions Cup?
Yeah, the way he started this match, he thought he was going to run away with it, but he's been pegged back from 2-0 behind to 2-2, and he's really been put under pressure here from Curtis.
Yeah, and I just think there's an element in what you said a couple of times about Curtis, that the more bogged down the frames get, the more he really seems to relish it. And you've noticed, I mean, it's been noticeable over the last couple of frames in particular. That's exactly what's happened. And he's got a decent break there in the fact that a couple of balls have gone down. He's at the table. Reds look promising.
Yeah, if he can make this first red, then Reds aren't too bad. It was a tricky first red. Oh, I thought that stayed up, but it's wiped his feet, but it's fallen in. So every red's got a pocket, but they're awkward. If he's dead straight on this red, then it's tricky. He'd love to have just a little bit of angle on this to be able to drop down and play onto the red on the bottom rail, on the side rail, and he has. This is not bad. It looks like the natural angle of this pot is to cannon would be, if you make the pot cannon the red in open play, he probably wants to play this with a tracer running side and just come below the red, just so that he can then play on the red to the left centre, leave the one in the middle of the table for his last ball. Of course, he may go the other way and play. He may just try and play on the one in the open and leave the one into the left centre as his last ball. Depends which way he sees it.
He will take his time to value every single option, Curtis Lee. Big shot here. Pot's there.
And he did have the tracer running side on, and that's absolutely perfect. So now it's one good pot into the centre pocket, his natural position for the last ball. It's all about this pot. And trust me, it's a lot harder than it looks on the screen. This is a much thinner pot than it looks on the camera angle that we're showing you.
Yeah, these are the shots that myself as a rank amateur absolutely hate, and I don't think it's much different for the pros. Play it really well.
He has, but has he hit it hard enough? He's walking around the table with purpose, suggests that he's okay.
Yeah, he's just about half ball on the next red, which is just about okay, but you can just see there, skimmed the near jaw. Anything slightly less than that, he was in some real trouble. That's in the heart of the pocket.
Needs the white to bounce. Needs a big bounce.
Oh, well.
Told something cold?
Full snooker called by the referee is the two words that Curtis Lee did not want to hear after he potted that red.
He did this at 5-4 down against Nicky Griffiths and came up with a spectacular shot to make it. Can he do the same thing again?
Well, I don't think he's got an awful lot of choice.
He may play this delicately and just rest on it. Yeah, that's what he's tried. And that's a good shot. Just see Christian tap the table to say a nice shot. He would prefer to get the turtle snooker.
Yeah, and the reason why that's such a clever shot is Christian pretty much has to play the yellow that's near the black, and in doing so, that frees the black up and means it's no longer safe.
Yeah, and if this yellow doesn't go to the corner, and I think it does go to the corner, if it does, then it's not great for Curtis.
Oh, that's a really good shot.
Yeah, if that yellow hadn't have gone, then Christian would have been in a lot of trouble. The fact it went, he knew as long as he makes that pot, then he should give himself a good chance to win the frame.
Yeah, I just saw Christian's reaction. He seemed to be. I don't think when he got up, I think he. Well, I don't think he realised that shot was on.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the reason I didn't think it was on because he tapped the table to say good shot to Curtis, but actually when he got down on the shot, it was a straight pot to the corner. And yes, there's pressure on it because if he misses, he's going to leave the black on. But it was one that he would fully expect to get, and he did.
Delicate one into the middle there, and the three balls at the bottom, they are a little bit in each other's way, so it does require a bit of precision here.
Yeah, I think he's just overrun that actually. He wanted to be just 2 or 3 inches higher up the table so he could drop this in, and he wanted to play on the yellow on the bottom rail next, but he may not be able to. Well, he can, but he'll be more angle on it than he would really want. He was straight enough that he could come on and off the cushion. I think he's still going to have to take. He would, in an ideal world, he wants to take the yellow along the bottom rail first, but it's a tough pot from here.
Played it really well. Played it really well. And after a really, really tight opening 4 and, well, I'll call it 5 frames now, it's been an enthralling final. Christian Phillips will go 3-2 up, and Curtis Lee will be devastated to have let that one go. He should have had the lead the very first time in this entire competition in the middle of a match. He's only ever led it right at the very end of his semi-final. It's been so enthralling. Those are the match stats so far. It's Christian Phillips 3, Curtis Lee 2, who's going to take home the place in round 2. We'll find out after the break.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Tell me. Don't let things go for them. 6-3. Christian Phillips to break. The scores leading 3-2. Time running. Edge gold. Reds in play.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Join us back live here in Cardiff, week number 4 of the IPA FreeSports Champions Cup. Curtis Lee and Christian Phillips currently engaged in a safety battle. This was the break. The black very nearly going in off, but just staying out. And it came out dry, and a tactical battle has pretty much emerged ever since. Both players have a colour, but that's about it. It's a really close affair.
Yeah, it sort of goes without saying that the big problem here for both players is the fact that black over the centre pocket is causing the issue, because it's blocking both a red and a yellow. It's a bigger problem for Christian than it is for Curtis. Curtis can, he can get his red out, but
God, that was close.
Yeah, I think he was always comfortable with that, but it was close. The reason I say it's easier for Curtis than it is for Christian.
Just check the black ball here. I just think it bounces back on itself.
Yeah, it just rocks, doesn't it?
He really could not have hit that any weaker. I don't think I've ever seen a ball rock the way that black ball did there.
Yeah, it rocked back onto its own. Yeah, bizarre. The reason I think it was easier for Curtis to get his red out, but also he's got a red at the top of the table that he can play off. He can put his red at the top of the table off the black at some point later in this frame, which will just open the black up. For Christian to go into that red and black, the yellow and black, he would risk potting the black. It would be too big a risk, so he just can't. He can't think of anything aggressive at this stage.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a moment when we've watched a huge amount of pool over the last month here on Free Sports. I don't think we've seen a ball rock like that, especially not a black over a pocket.
No, you do see it occasionally, but that actually moved quite a long way to rock back. Normally it's just a slight feather, but actually it did definitely go a fair way.
Out in the mouth time for Curtis Lee. That doesn't quite drop. And here we see it again. Just watch the ball hit. There it goes. Oh no. It's almost as if it's not a pool ball. It's a bowl. Trying balancing next to the jack.
Yeah, it's almost like it's in a little divot or something, but it's.
This is a close up.
Wow.
It's almost as if it's got a flat bottom.
So yeah, just very difficult for Christian. Christian's the sort of player that always wants to be aggressive. He doesn't like these tactical battles. He wants to come up with something, but it's just very, very difficult for him to come up with anything aggressive. It's too risky for him to go anywhere near that black and yellow. I think if he wants to be aggressive in a couple of shots' time, he probably needs to get another yellow at the top end of the table that he could then play off the. That's pretty good for Christian. Now he's got that yellow where he has. He can now play that yellow off the black, and that will open up the other yellow below it. Christian's going to be thrilled with the way that's come out.
And I think Curtis has just tried to stop him doing exactly that.
Yeah, he's tried to put a red in the way to stop him from being able to do the shot exactly as I talked about a minute ago. So, and he's been fairly successful with that as well. I think Christian's just going to try and hide the white at the bottom of the table again.
And the way the yellows are sitting, particularly at the bottom of the table with Curtis's reds, there's no real obvious opportunity to break out for him. He's obviously got the red over the middle pocket, which is there to pot pretty much any time, but he's got nothing after that.
No, exactly. It's almost where Christian was 4 or 5 shots ago, that he can't really do too much. So Christian's sort of turning it around a little bit in this frame. You just get the sense from Christian he's just itching to go for something. He's almost having to pull him, control himself and pull himself back. Okay, now we're going to see him play the shot I talked about. So yellow off the black into the left centre pocket, and he's going to need. The problem he's got is the reds that are below the other yellow. So the yellow below the black is going to come down towards the 2 reds below it, and there's no guarantee it's going to come on.
And does he dare play us with pace?
It's going to be with a lot of pace.
Oh, he's played it brilliantly.
And that's fantastic.
He's played it absolutely brilliantly. That was a shot of real metal. And that pretty much could not have come out better. He even didn't pot the yellow over the pocket, which is exactly what he would have wanted.
Yeah, that's come out. I mean, that's come out,
He could have placed it better.
He wouldn't have dreamed for it to come out that well. He was just hoping that yellow came out enough that he would be able to pot it without having to develop it again. For it to come out over the pocket was, absolutely just ideal for him. But that shot was all dreamt up about 4 or 5 visits ago, when Christian managed to get the yellow to where it was, so he could play that shot. So he's been thinking about that shot for quite a few visits.
Yeah, he played the long game as we know so many players do. And boy, is it paid off for him. It's a clever little shot. It's not going to be the easiest black, but it looked like we were going to have to wait a while until the black was even a consideration in this frame.
Yeah, he should just play for this in the corner. He could play for it in the centre, but you've got to be careful that you don't overhit the positional shot. And that is to the inch. That is a fantastic shot. Much better shot than it looked like. That was so easy to snook yourself behind the red.
What a good win of a frame that is for Christian Phillips. It's 4-2, 2 away. And how pleasing will it be if you're Christian Phillips to win the frame in that manner, knowing, as we do, that he doesn't particularly like engaging in these safety battles. He wants to constantly be on the attack.
Yeah, no, he's going to be thrilled that he's come through a couple of safety battles with Curtis and got the upper hand, which is, you know, I'd definitely say that Curtis would be the stronger suited to that style of game. So, you know, Christian would be thrilled, and if he just wants this game to open up now, and you know, hopefully he can get a few finishes on, you know, strung together like he did in his semi-final match.
7-3. Curtis lead the break.
You can definitely see by the way they sat in the chair that Christian's far happier at this stage.
Absolutely. Big break this for Curtis. Get the sense that if it goes wrong for him, he could be in a lot of trouble. Needs it to go well. Really got into that.
Massive break.
Goodness me. His cue almost ended up touching the pack. It came through that far. He obliterated that. Look how far down the table the cue came.
Really got through that. Brilliant break. I think, you know, most people will look at this and go, you know, I've made three reds, I should go reds here, but I think yellow's by far a better choice here. If he goes reds, then yes, the 4 reds are okay, but the black is not potable where it is now. The only real awkward yellow would be yellow on the bottom of the table. As we look now, that one there, but that does plant onto the other one, or he could take the other one first and then come back to that one, how he sees it. But the 4 at the bottom of the table around the black aren't too much of a problem. He can get to the potting angle of the one by the black.
Yeah, this is the shot he's going to play. He's going to play the plant first. Goes right. He's in a good position, and he has played it pretty well. Yeah, it's an interesting one. That, you know, you're coming from very much a pro player's perspective, and for those of you at home who maybe don't play to, you know, anywhere near this sort of level, if you're in your local Rileys and you're potting 3 reds off the break, you're never considering potting the yellow first. But actually, the way you describe it, the constant thought straight off the break is, how can I pot the black? And with the 2 yellows gathered around it, the only way you're potting the black is if you're potting those yellows as well.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no point in potting all the reds if you can't find a way of potting the black. You can't win the frame unless you pot the black, and you need to see all the way through your finish and understand how you're going to go about the whole finish. And yellows, it's quite often the way, actually, if you make 3 reds, it's quite often that yellows will be better for you because you've got more balls on the table to develop anything if you need to. So it actually happens more often than you.
Foul.
Oh well!
Wow!
Previous injury table. Time off.
Oh, that's incredible. Just when I thought Curtis was going to run through that finish fairly simply, he's complete miscue.
That's incredible. Here we go. Here's the replay. Oh, he's jumped the ball, and you just actually look at Christian's reaction. He almost, it's like sort of like pool players' union there, isn't it? You can sort of, you can feel the pain of Curtis.
Yeah, he felt from there, but he's also happy that he's getting an opportunity here. And it was doubly bad for Curtis, and not only did he miss cue and not make the pot, he's actually fouled, which is going to give Christian the opportunity to develop this black, and then everything's there for him. You just have to be careful with that red on the rail.
Revisit over.
Well, he's going another way. He's going to develop the red on the rail, and then he's going to develop the black whilst potting the reds to the centre pocket.
Well, what a remarkable twist to this frame. Curtis had a terrific break, and we took a look at the way the balls were laying, and it just looked for all the world as if we had a match back on our hands, 4-3. You just can't legislate for that. No one can predict a moment like that from a player as good as Curtis Lee.
No, I mean, Curtis had some work left in terms of he had still had to pop 5 balls in the black, but I was all but giving him the frame.
What causes that? Because obviously it happens to every player at some point. Obviously the circumstance of this one is particularly unfortunate, but what causes that?
It's just mistimed it. He's just dipped at the last second, trying to get some right to the bottom of the white, trying to get some quick screw back, and just completely mistimed it. Hit way too low at the bottom of the white and just jumped it off. And that's a poor shot from Christian this time. Can he pop this red to the centre and avoid the black? It looks like he's going to clip the black. If he's going to clip the black, then he loses control on this shot.
In that sense, does he consider the double to try and avoid it?
The double's definitely an option.
And he has done. Oh, he just got it.
He thought when he hit that he'd missed that on the near jaw, but it just goes in off that near jaw.
Nicely done from Christian Phillips, who really has stolen one there. That was Curtis Lee's frame to lose, and unfortunately for him, it was he who lost it. This is the big moment in the frame.
Yeah, just watch how he's just dipped at the last second, trying to get right to the bottom and time it so that he gets like quick screw back on that, and he's just mistimed it completely.
And he's just making sure his cue's not damaged in any way. There you go. Here's the real slow play. You just see there he's trying to play with bottom right hand side. And he just totally miscues it.
Yeah, it's quite hard to watch as a pool player, seeing that. It's, yeah, just unfortunate for him.
And is it just the case of you know exactly how bad it feels when it happens to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Doing it on this stage, it's it's not a good feeling at all. So yeah, no, I feel for him, and I just wonder if it's going to be one blow too many, really.
Chance here for. Oh, I can't believe Christian's going off. This final might just take another twist yet, ladies and gentlemen.
I was just about to say that, Curtis may be sat in this chair, and with a big break here, he may not get back to the table.
You know what, Simon? I was just about to say the same thing before that white went in the middle pocket. Goodness me. I think even Christian's thinking exactly the same thing,
Yeah.
Quite incredible.
Now we're going to get
twist.
to see how good is Curtis's temperament. How much can he put that mistake out the back of his mind? Get back at, he was talking in his interview before about positivity. Can he get back on the front foot and be positive here? And he really should win this frame from this position.
Yeah, this is the ultimate test, isn't it? This by any good player's estimation is a fairly routine clearance, but with what happened in the last frame, you just get a sense this is anything but for Curtis Lee. He really needs this, and he knows how much he needs it. Just drops. That's the first one.
Yeah, he had a slightly bad angle on the one over the pocket, and it would have been hard to get the white out, so it was better to play the plant, much more controllable. And now he's done that, they are absolutely wide open for him.
Here's the key moment in the frame. This was the in off the break. You just see the way that white kicked up off the table, off the reds in the middle of the table. There's absolutely no way that you can legislate for that. And Christian knew as soon as it came up, as soon as it hit the top cushion, he knew exactly where it was going.
Yeah, he was right behind it once he hit that top cushion. And yeah, there are times when you hit the brake badly and the white's going to track towards the pocket, and you know you've hit it badly and you deserve it. But that was just bad luck. He's hit the brake really well. He's made a couple of balls. It's just been unfortunate. It's been kicked in off.
And Curtis will be thinking, oh, finally something's gone my way.
Yeah. He's just over screwed that. I think he just wanted to stop that dead, leave the yellow to the right centre, the one that's furthest down the table. But he's got a bit more angle on this one to the right centre now. I still think he should play it. I think he needs to try and pop it to the right centre and stun into the red just to control the white.
Yeah, as we mentioned when he first came to the table, it was a routine clearance, but
he's missed the red and he's missed the yellow.
But you just felt it was going to be more difficult than it looked.
Yeah, the pressure of the way this match, he was trying to catch that red full ball as well. That's probably what caused him to miss the yellow as he's taken his eye off it. He knows that the mistake in the previous frame, and that's what he's thinking about more than this one. He's still annoyed by the previous frame.
It did just seem to veer a little bit, didn't it?
Just pulled into that near pocket, yeah.
Extension called.
Christian calls extension, and actually for Christian, it's not the most easiest or the most obvious first pot. I think that's what he's got the most to think about. If that's out the way, it should be relatively straightforward.
Yeah, I don't think he's got an easy first pot on. Yeah, that's a great shot.
Oh, does the yellow cover it?
He's been unlucky. He had to play that off the cushion, off the yellow. That didn't go directly. I think that's gone far enough to cause him all sorts of problems.
He's actually played a heck of a shot there, and for that yellow not to even skim off the red is very unlucky.
Yeah, I think it's gone just far enough as well. It's actually causing. If that red still goes to the corner, then at least he can pot it and cannon the other one out. He has options. If it doesn't go to the corner, then he's got a real problem. He needs to cannon into that area.
Oh, it looks like it might, but it's ever so tight.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely goes. He hasn't got the full pocket. You can see that he's got probably half a pocket to play at. But it's what can he do with it? Can he get an angle on that he can cannon into the?
There you go.
You can see that definitely goes. You'd almost want to play it off the yellow, but I don't think that's an option. Oh, he's over-screwed this a long way. Oh no, he's okay. He's through the gap. He's actually played that to perfection. I'm doing him a bit of a disservice.
He has to play this absolutely precisely. He's got no margin for error here.
He needs to play this with, I think he's going to have to play this with a little bit of check side as well. Or the red above it goes as well. That's okay. No, he needed to be on the other side of straight off this one. That's not a good angle. He needed to be another foot to the left to be able to just drop it in and take the red to the top, the other red to the top left.
At the moment, this white looks like, with the natural angle, it's hitting the red.
Yeah, when he plots that in there, the white's going to be going towards that red. He might, if he's catching it half ball, he might just send it to the top rail to nudge it, be able to pot it past the yellow, but it's not really that controllable. He hasn't got enough margin of error to control that shot.
Just trying to screw past it.
Yeah, I think he was playing the shot I was talking about, which was just to nudge it onto the top rail, but he's missed it. Yeah, he was just trying to catch it. If he catches that quarter ball and he nudges it onto the top rail, then it goes past the yellow. But there was no margin of error on that shot, and he's missed the red as well. So it's all sorts of trouble here now.
He's just trying to take the pocket. He hasn't quite managed to do it. And Curtis Lee, once again, we've seen it already tonight. When he thought he'd played his last shot at the tournament, he got another invitation back in. It's happened again. It's not quite as dramatic as Nicky Griffiths missed black, but it's a similar opening.
It really is. You know, is there something in the air for Curtis tonight? It feels like, you know, it's felt the whole night that he's been hanging on, and yet he's still hanging on, and he's still got a chance in this match.
Drops it in dead weight, played it nicely. This should be fairly routine, but you just feel he's almost playing against himself as he is against his opponent here, just for this frame. What a difference it would make to get this frame out of the way.
Yeah, you could say he's probably just fighting himself a little bit here, and just making sure and being sort of ultra careful with his finish. He knows it's over in this frame, and so does Christian. They're both sort of preparing for the next frame. You've still got to make sure.
And that's salvation for Curtis Lee. The final rumbles on. Christian Phillips had the chance to win it. Book his place in the second round. Didn't quite manage it. There's the stats so far. Not many missed pots, it has to be said.
Yeah, mainly the mistakes have been running out of position in this match. It's been more, not, you know, certainly from Christian's side of the table. He's you know, he's ran out of position on his last ball a couple of times and not found a way, and certainly Curtis has done that as well. Yeah, the finishes from the break have come from Christian. He started this match with a break and dish and a reverse dish. And there's been some scrappy and some tactical frames after there. But yeah, there's one chance for the match gone from Christian.
He's not been the most lethal on his break either,
Going to see the
Christian.
break, trailing 5 racks to 3.
It's not been bad by any stretch of the imagination, but could certainly have been better. We saw the last time Curtis Lee broke. He about met the pack with his cue. Really taking out his frustration of this game into the break.
If he can manage another break of that size, and he has, oh, that's huge. Wow, what a break.
Goodness me.
Yeah, it's not a perfect split.
Now, almost similar to the last break he had, is he tempted by yellows purely because of the one next to black, or will he take reds on this occasion, do you think?
Well, yeah, if the yellow at the top end of the table, if that yellow there passes into that corner, then I think yellow's definitely the option. The problem with reds, because all the reds aren't that bad. All the reds go. The problem with reds is the black, but there isn't an easy easy red to get the black out or get on the black.
Yeah,
So
see that yellow definitely goes in now. Was that the shot clock expiring on Curtis Lee? No, extension was called just in time. He opts for reds.
he did opt for reds, and I think his plan was to play a double on the black. I think that's what he's going to do. I don't think he's going to attempt to move it, but he's missed the cannon. He was trying to cannon the yellow that's next to the red at the top of the table, and he's just missed that. So I think I don't think he can pop this. This is just a safety shot. He was trying to leave the white almost touching the yellow at the top of the table with no other shot on.
Oh, that's a lovely shot.
Yeah, great shot from Christian. He does have with the way that Curtis played his last shot by putting that red onto the side rail, it is blocking one of Christian's yellows for a direct pot down the rail, but it's in a position that he can double it. He has an angle now that he can go, I think he can just about get into the yellow and black on the side table. He might just be missing it. He's just going to take the pocket. Decided not to go for a finish, which is unlike Christian.
Maybe he's just been sort of conditioned in this game to be a little bit ultra cautious. I think there is an element of that, isn't there, with Curtis, the way he plays. He does sort of drag you down into the trenches with him.
Yeah, he does play a cautious game, and he will try and make the table messy, make you work for your finishes. I think Christian's just going to take the pocket. I don't think he's going to try and pot this.
I'm pleased with that. Peering over the edge of that pocket, but stays out.
This red's far enough away from the yellow, and the angle he's got, that he can get this red out, get it away, probably try and get it to going towards the... He may even play to move the black here at the same time. I think he has, but he's missed the black. He was actually being, you know, he was actually trying to pop that and get the black out at the same time. But it was a very tough pot. He's quite happy with the way it's come out.
Yeah, well, pretty much every single red now is over the pocket.
You could see if he does make that pot, and if he catches it a fraction thinner, then he probably does get the black out as well.
Does this force Christian's hand here, the way the reds are currently lying?
Possibly. It's just very difficult for him with that, especially with that red's gone at the bottom of the table. Unless the one of the yellows, he can slide by it. Is that red far enough away from the pocket that he can pot one of the yellows on the rail, or even the one in the open play, off the cushion, off the red, into that pocket? If he can, then he'll only have the black and the yellow above it. That'll be a bad ball.
Is he potentially looking at a skill shot involving the black here? He is. Oh!
That's a great shot. That tells me that I think he thinks he can get one of these yellows off the red into the corner pocket, which will open up that corner pocket.
He's played that brilliantly, and he played it so well that he knew the black wasn't going in there. He worked out the angle so that it'd come off the cushion, away from the pocket, but still get that yellow. It's a very, very good shot. That yellow is tight, Simon.
I think because the red's just far enough away from the rail, that I actually think he can play that off the red quite comfortably. But he's not played a very good positional shot on that last shot, so he needs a good pot now. And he's done that. I think he's okay. He can see the one on the rail.
Yep.
I think if he got right behind this and a bit closer, I would fancy him to make it. From here, I think it's much tougher. It's not a big pocket. Sometimes when the red goes over a pocket, it creates a big pocket, and you'd almost be surprised if they missed it. I don't think this is a big pocket, but it's makeable. Yeah.
Oh, there you see it.
What's his result like?
This final might be taking yet another twist.
Has he had a bit of a result?
It certainly could have been worse for him. I don't think we can say that. But
I think Curtis is forced into taking this red to the top left. Now it's very close to the pocket, but it's also very close to the rail, and it's very, very easy to miss this red. It looks simple, but it's not.
Big shot here for Curtis. Doesn't get it. Mentioned it was difficult. Oh, and it just came off the jaw to bring Christian right back into play here.
Yeah, that was tricky. Once Christian missed, he can feel very aggrieved that he wasn't left something easier than that. You know, he still fancied him to pot it, but it wasn't easy.
And Christian here with a fantastic chance to win the match. If he's on this yellow, he's pretty much there. Just having a double check, it passes the black okay. He's absolutely perfect. The black is a gimme. And he's really had to work here. Curtis Lee gave absolutely everything. But Christian Phillips eventually advances through into the second round of the Champions Cup here in Cardiff. Boy, was he made to work for that. We will hear from the winner after the break.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing. The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.
Well, welcome back to Cardiff, here with the winner, Christian Phillips. Christian, for a first to six match, that really was a marathon, not a sprint. What was that match like to play in?
Yeah, it was hard to be involved in. Started off pretty good, going 2-0 up, and then the frames kind of went a bit scrappy, and that kind of suits Curtis a bit more than myself. But that's pool, so sometimes you get scrappy frames, sometimes you get fast flowing games, you know.
And in terms of, you were always ahead in that match, but did you ever feel like you were ever in true control?
No, because it's just, if I dry break, Curtis can clean up, and then he can break and dish, you know, he's back level before I've blinked, you know, so no, never really.
And it was such a strange match. It seemed like it had a bit of everything. We saw some crazy miscues, some crazy misses on late on in frames. How do you feel to finally just get over the line and get it over with? It was such a long, difficult match.
Yeah, I'm relieved to get over the line. That miscue for Curtis was, I can't remember what to say, you know. But yeah, I'm just relieved to get through anyway, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's one that every single pool player felt a lot of sympathy for him. In terms of this competition itself, how much have you enjoyed taking part of it? Obviously quite a local event for yourself, and moving on into the second round, how much are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing on TV tonight. I think it's another 13-14 weeks till we're back here again now, so looking forward to it.
Well, we can't wait to watch you. Congratulations on making it.
Lovely, thank you.
And let's take a little look at how he did. Well, wasn't he made to work for it? A very relieved Christian Phillips makes his way through to the second stage of the Champions Cup. Those are our four qualifiers. The seeds just about scraping through. Mark Farnsworth, Rona McCarthy and Craig Marsh, now joined by Christian Phillips. It's the four seeds have advanced here, Simon, but you get the sense they're finding it more and more difficult as we go through.
Yeah, they've been pushed harder and harder each week, and Christian was pushed all the way tonight. It was an enthralling night's pool and fantastic performance from Christian, but he was really made to work hard for it.
Yeah. Absolutely fantastic. We will be in Sheffield next week for Jason Remington versus Michael Rhodes and Jack Heckingbottom versus the seed in that group, Jordan Shepherd. Simon, thanks ever so much for your company tonight. We hope you've enjoyed it, ladies and gentlemen. We will see you same time, same place, 7 o'clock on Free Sports next Monday. We're in Sheffield for week number 5 of the Free Sports Champions Cup. See you next week.
The IPA FreeSports Champions Cup pool is brought to you by Select Car Leasing.